What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 338. It is another fine Sunday with some fine games to talk about this week, but less than fine news. But that's okay. That's okay, because we're here. We're back. Travis is dancing. How we doing, my Thai guy friend?
We're doing great. A big McClunky on Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you all. Happy to be here. I have a Star Wars tie. It doesn't look like it's a Star Wars tie, but if you look real close,
you got your stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers, and we even got one little Darth. I
think you've worn that one before on the show.
I did, but I didn't show it to the audience. I showed it to y'all after the show, I believe, or before the show. So just so the audience knows, this is I wear a lot of incognito nerd ties, so you don't know that they're nerdy until you go, huh? Oh, you're a dork.
I just imagine they're nerdy.
Yeah, that's probably pretty safe bet.
It's only for your business partners that really get up in your chest and start analyzing your tie.
They're like, yeah, you get to know me. That's right.
Got to get close. Keeping things in order, as always on this Sunday, is the lawman himself.
Oh, I think social media would disagree about my ability to keep things in order, but I appreciate the kind words. I am ready to talk about some video games.
Yeah. I have to laugh, Hogue, when you said that, because I don't know if you know this, and I didn't mention this to you. I was saving it for the show, that one of your opinions of Expedition 33 or one of your tweets or whatever got copy-pasted and then shared on Blue Sky and made the rounds on Blue Sky.
I did not know that. Of course. I can only tell you we went wide with a couple of my thoughts. When you can always tell on social media, it's like we've left contain because people are coming in and saying things that are clearly not true. Saying things like, well, you've probably never played a JRPG before. It's like, okay.
That's definitely true.
Pick a different angle, guy. But yeah, it's been a week because I like to express my opinions on social media, and apparently those platforms are not for that.
They are not. No.
You like to express your opinions on social media?
Well, you get people that come in and are like, why are you even sharing this opinion? It's like, I'm sorry, I thought this was the purpose of the platform.
I mean, that's a pretty good point, though. Why are you? That's a pretty good point,
dude. How dare
you
have that opinion?
I think we should ask the people that are watching us right now. Why are you here watching me share opinions? I don't know.
Maybe they're here for the hard facts, bro. They skip over the opinions. Anytime we start talking about whether we like the game, they're like,
well, that is a part of it, Travis. You're making a joke, but I don't include all of the kind of touchy-feely social media, in my opinion, or as far as I'm concerned, or from my perspective type language. It's like, if I am sharing with you a subjective thought, I am working on the understanding that you can examine that thought and understand it's subjective, and then it must be my opinion because I just wrote it, and I'm not asserting it as the truth value of the universe.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that philosophy, Hogue. People they're wasting a lot of print with these, in my opinion, from my perspective. We know it's your perspective. You're the one saying it, bro. Like,
yep.
It's really just trim. We don't need any of that.
But I can understand your editors or any other outlet's editors saying, let's cut off the knees of some of these people that are going to come in and say, how dare you assert that thing as if it's God's given truth? It's like, I'm not. I'm just a person with an opinion. And I can understand someone saying, well, we don't want all those extra comments. We don't want those thoughts. And so you should write it as if people don't understand that when you say something that seems unequivocal, that it is just your opinion on whatever subjective matter you're talking about. But hey, that's social media. And you know what? If people aren't occasionally hating me on Twitter, then why am I even there?
Yeah.
My opinion, you're both wrong, but
there you go. Yeah, well, I can tell you my editors definitely do not enforce their, in my opinion, statements at all. They're pretty proudly like, all right, well, if they just don't get it, there's really nothing we can do. It's a review. So like, just if they're here and they don't know the difference between subjectivity and objectivity, we're already way too behind to catch them up. So we'll let the comments sort it out. And they always do. They always do. So, yeah.
Wait, is your official position that the comments to an IGN review always, quote unquote, sorted out?
The subjective objective thing, dude, find any review and there's somebody who doesn't understand that it's an opinion, and then a whole bunch of people who understand that it is, and they're always fighting with each other in the comments. Always. It's just every single review, dude, that is there. So
see, an outsider might suggest that is not, in fact, quote unquote, sorting it out.
I mean,
you're a morass.
letting God sort it out in a way, I guess. I don't know.
Yep. I think I don't think a review goes by, Travis, of yours where someone says you need to be more objective. I mean, it's every single time.
I'd be willing to bet there's at least one comment on YouTube or IGN for literally every review where somebody does not get it. That is like a core part of writing reviews for sure, or having opinions in general on the internet. So I feel your pain, and I think Hogue, really everyone is feeling your pain right now. There's a lot of.
I mean, we know Hogue's opinions are unhinged. Like,
well, without question. As somebody who has now played Expedition 33, I think, last week's hearing his opinions are all making sense to me now while you were so incensed, Danes, because I don't agree with him either. But he's allowed to have his opinions. That's okay.
I appreciate that largesse.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll make an exception this time. But
he is just this time he's allowed to have an opinion.
Just this one
Next
time.
Somewhere else. So, you want an opinion, you put it on your own show.
I'm more than happy to be history's greatest monster on Expedition 33. But I think there's a lot that more people could talk about with respect to that game than they are doing, because the music and art is so tremendous that it is affecting people in an emotional way when the game does not actually survive a level of scrutiny that I generally apply to the storytelling in games.
Wait until they find out that the content you make on Hogue Law, where you talk about legal stuff, is also subjective.
Whoa.
That'll really...
I say that a lot, though. I have often said I'm just one guy, and if you have a legal analysis and you have 3 lawyers, you're going to get 5 opinions. I try to express that to people, but yes, my quotes are still used as weapons across the internet. It's one of the reasons I make less content right now, is I hate to see that.
It's going to be... I'm happy that this is happening to all of us. It makes me feel seen.
Makes me feel seen, yeah. Anyway, we'll get to more of Expedition 33 now that Travis has played it. I have a little more time in it. But we're going to talk about some other games to finalize that Oblivion review of yours, Travis. We'll let you close that out. Arc Raiders is taking shooter space, I could say, I guess, by storm these past few days. I want to talk about that because I put a lot of time into it. Obviously, GTA 6 has been delayed. We had a state of play for Borderlands 4. Yeah. And we got to talk about Xbox pricing and a few other things. Didn't somebody
have GTA 6 on their draft when we did the draft? Somebody put it on their list, right?
You guys could not have possibly drafted GTA 6.
We did not. Somebody did, though. Yes. So whoever did that was... Although we drafted Fable, which I thought was a mistake. and
we did that at the end, though.
We did do it.
And also, we still have Silksong. So...
You drafted Silksong for 2025?
Yes.
Yeah, we were feeling pretty confident about the beginning.
He was on the Switch 2 presentation with 2025 Hogue. I will let you know.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a little clip. It was. In fact, there was the word Silksong did appear on the Switch 2 presentation.
You have to admit, though, at the beginning of the year, with the Switch 2 inevitably coming out, and that presumably, I mean, there's a lot of reason to think it was coming this year, maybe.
It still could. Come on.
Still could. It's still good.
I mean, it has all the hallmarks of a kind of Tire Fire-esque development. So I'm not sure when it's going to come out.
I don't know that it's a Tire Fire development. I think it's just one of those indie developments like Cuphead, where it's like it's going to take a million years. When it comes out, it's going to be great, but it's just... But
at least Cuphead had good reasons. Like, there may be good reasons for Silksong,
I think there are good reasons here. I literally just think it's one of those indie studios.
Hand-drawn animation is not one of them.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those indie studios that doesn't have a business person saying this is good enough, and they're just like, no, we're going to keep iterating until it's perfect. And there's a lot of indie games that have been super successful doing that. Original Meat Boy was like that. There's, I think, Braid was one of them. Like that, they come out and they're really good. They just take a million years.
Right, and The Witness bankrupted Blow. Right.
So there you go.
It should have.
You get these Tire Fire developments. Witness was not terrible, Lanes. I agree with Travis's...
Not terrible. It's so good.
Terrible.
Are you serious?
No.
What?
God,
you're wrong.
It's one of the best puzzle games ever made. It's so good.
One of the most disappointing games I've ever played.
Terrible. Do you like those puzzle games, though?
And the funny thing is, I 100%ed it. I still hate it.
That's because The Witness is a good game. It just was too expensive for what that company could make at the time.
Yes, it was more than zero. We got a couple things to talk about before we get started. So I want to call out some recognition and comments from last week's show. Shout out to Vintage Willow, gave us a $10 super chat post show saying replay crew this week and next week. Thanks for the entertainment. Thank you, Willow, as always. Appreciate you. Zabarino shouts out Hogue and says, "Oh my God, thank you, Hogue, for mentioning Wadget Eyes game. That Old Skies. That one totally slipped through the cracks for me. So appreciate it.
It was a big week. Yeah, Old Skies had the problematic release date that week, but it's a great game. Highly recommend it if you like adventure games. Seems like a real gem. Haven't beaten it yet, but if you like time travel, if you like Wadget Eye, if you like adventure games like Gabriel Knight and that kind of branch of adventure games from back in the 90s, I highly recommend it.
Cool. Snap-on Schmitty, good friend of mine from the car community, says finally got a chance to catch up with this week's show. I'm a little disappointed this week as there were no Paddington references.
Well, let's fix that right now.
Sorry,
let's get that little bear in here. We love Paddington.
He is hanging out in the background. He's always with us. He's always with us.
Paddington is always with you, gamers.
But anyway, thank you for the commentary. And of course, there were a lot of comments about the Expedition 33 discussion. Some people saying, yes, I can see the Souls influence. Some people saying Hogue is absolutely insane, and everything in between. So that's where that landed last week. I wasn't going to pull all those out.
The Souls influences are obvious. And Ains is crazy to reject the notion that it was influenced by Souls in its entirety.
I think that you saying this has Souls level design is probably one of the most unhinged things you've ever said. And that's a high bar, my friend. That is a high bar.
Man. The Souls-like comparisons after I've played it, I'm like, I don't. Just because enemies respawn? Is that literally
It's not just because enemies respawn. It's because the nature of the game is environmental traversal with respawning enemies. And so it becomes this not Final Fantasy game. It becomes a dungeons only or oops, all dungeons kind of progression.
Isn't that like Persona? Persona's like that.
No, it's not. Persona has towns and things that you do outside of the dungeon runs. And Expedition 33 is just dungeon levels until the end. And
I like that you're calling them dungeon levels because those dungeons are in a Japanese role-playing game that are very similar to the game you're talking about. That's much more similar than, say, a Souls-like. Feel like it's a good comparison.
Yeah, JRPGs. That's like a pretty
exactly.
It's a JRPG if you only ever did go get the Sand Lion dungeons instead of going into towns and having conversations.
Why does that make it more like
a
Souls-like though, that you only do dungeons?
Because this particular set of dungeons is primarily related to environmental traversal with the hooks and the shortcuts and the respawning enemies and everything else that makes it clearly influenced by Souls design. I'm not telling you it's a Souls game. I'm telling you that there's Souls DNA in what they designed, and to ignore it, I think is pretty silly.
I'm just trying to understand why environmental traversal is Souls-like.
Because
especially when the levels are nothing like a Souls game.
Because the way they designed this game is Souls-like. The environments are Souls in artistic nature. The enemies respawn, and you're going to get the same kind of loop feeling of a Souls game in this game. That's fine, by the way. At no point did I ever express this as a negative. I just said that it's silly to ignore that there's Souls DNA in Expedition 33.
Yeah, I don't agree. And I played a lot of Souls likes.
You don't have to agree.
That's what I said.
I'm not demanding you guys agree. I just think you're wrong.
There's not a single From game that has this type of level design.
I didn't say anything about From.
They make all the Souls games.
They do not. The Souls game has left the From environment.
Fair, but if you're saying a Souls game, meaning Dark Souls or
meaning
Demon
the genre, no, not Dark or Demon.
Okay, so it's a genre now.
It is a genre. As it has been for a long time, Ains.
It is a genre. Okay. I just don't know if he's. I think maybe he's attributing a part of the Souls genre, environmental running around.
Yes,
is more common, and I would say it's common in lots of like action games.
Correct.
So and JRPGs.
Yes. Anyway, there you go.
Well, what's not common in action games is to strip the entire healing system down to the primary 1 or 2 or 3 heals, and have the rest mechanic at campfires, flags, be what restores enemies in the environment.
The heals happen
healing
outside
is spells.
Of the turn-based combat. Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, core healing is spells and your abilities, just because like any RPG.
Because it creates the same gameplay loop as a Souls or other kind of Souls-like experience.
Going back to the bonfire and rehealing, if that is the only thing that needs to happen for it to be Souls-like, then I will give you that one. But aside from that, I just think there's too much divergence.
And
if I compared this to a Souls-like on an IGN review, I would get shit on in the comments, like absolutely destroyed.
I'm not saying it's
we already
Souls-like. I'm saying it has Souls influences within it that are obvious.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Regardless, moving on, because we haven't gotten the Tide's picks yet. So, Tide this week. I don't know if the influence here, Tide, was Souls or something else, but it looks like we went to the 80s this week.
Is this like Vice City? What are we doing?
I'm pretty sure Travis's picture is actually my Trapper Keeper cover from when I was in elementary school. So
it does look like an artist from the 80s. Like he definitely looks like he's making 80s music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, Ains, you look so young.
He does.
That is a weird picture of me. That's like a real picture where I'm 20 years younger. And
that's what you looked like when you're 20 years younger?
Look at that starry-eyed dreamer.
Yeah, pretty much. That's before the life was sapped out of me. Yeah.
When you had hair, was it always that short as well?
I've shaved my head since I was a teenager. So, yes.
Man, look at you. You really knew what you wanted in life. That's pretty cool. I look cool in this one, but you can tell underneath my glasses, my eyes are messed up. I feel like part of my eyeball's poking out on the right side. You guys feel like that?
I like that your glasses have 3D depth, like they're going into space.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think underneath the glasses, my eyes are like teeth, like the guy from Sandman. I think that's what's going on under there. I think I eat people's faces, which is cool.
Probably true.
Also, what I did in the 80s, so that makes sense.
Ade says that you look like the cover of Artist Escape.
Yeah, I kind of look like I'm about to play a musical instrument really well, and then you find out I'm blind at the end.
You definitely have a synthesizer just below the waterline there.
Yeah,
for
sure.
No doubt.
I'm in a band, and we all play synth.
Hogue looks like somebody, and I can't put my finger on it.
Hogue looks like not Hogue, as always.
He doesn't look like Hogue. He looks like someone else.
Unbelievable, dude.
I think I'm ready to be in the Sledgehammer video.
Yeah.
Yes.
This looks like,
why do you have such strong lips? Like, why are the lips so pronounced in this?
This looks like
no idea.
The photo of you that like the FBI used to like find out that you were a drug trafficker. You know, like they have this on your wall somewhere. Like, we don't know who this guy is, but he keeps getting product through. Find him.
Oh my God,
cool,
it's good stuff. It's good stuff, Tide, as always. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right. Let's see here. Lore Dump, boys. So I was going to ask you and we're putting a timer on this one because I know how you guys can be. It is May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So I figured two Star Wars fanatics here with me, right? What's like your first memory? What originally got you into Star Wars?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, go.
Because I'm a fan, but I'm not anywhere near like you guys, you know. So
when I was in
you
high
are a
school,
fan though. You like Star Wars?
I do like Star Wars. Yeah.
When I was in high school, my science teacher would have bonus questions for his tests, and all these bonus questions wound up being Star Wars trivia, like what's the name of the level that the detention center is on, and that kind of stuff. And
what year was this?
I didn't know Star Wars. This would have been the early 90s.
Okay, so Star Wars had been out for a while.
Yes, Star Wars had been out for a while. There were rumors that George Lucas was putting together his team for the prequels. It's about that era. But I had seen them, I believe, but I had not connected that like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were in the same universe as the original Star Wars. I don't know why, it just didn't click in my head. Whoa. But when you gave young Hogue the ability to get more points on a test in high school, he was going to go figure out how. And so I saw these trivia questions and I started to learn Star Wars lore, which then led into reading things like Heir to the Empire and Truce at Bakura and the other extended universe Star Wars books that were out at that time. That became a love of Star Wars that led into the prequels. And at the same time, somewhere around this you're having like Dark Forces and the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games come out on DOS, and I was playing through those as well. So those are my first kind of bits with Star Wars.
Nice. That's great. My
That's
Star
cool.
Wars origin story was that I grew up very, very poor in the projects in Oakland, and the only like media my grandma had was like a very small VHS collection, and one of them was the 3 Star Wars movies, which were
Everyone owned that. It's actually a scientific
which
fact.
were the non-special edition versions. And so I ran those things ragged, dude, with our rewind machine. You guys remember the VHS rewind machine? You put it in a separate
I wasn't that fancy. We just used the rewind button.
Oh yeah, I mean we used that too, but we had one of those. I can't remember how she got it, but there was one in a separate room. I used to run over there and be like every time.
I remember thinking I wouldn't like Star Wars because I saw that VHS cover, and it's the classic one with like Luke raising his lightsaber up to the sky, and I remember thinking I wouldn't like it because it has like Conan the Barbarian vibes, which was a bit I didn't like.
It absolutely did.
Well, I liked Conan the Barbarian, so
yeah. So I think that kind of escaped even me putting it into the VHS for a number of years because I didn't think it would be something that I liked.
Yeah, so I put that thing in, and watched it so many times. It was basically like I was really into escapism, anything I could do to get out of the house and go to libraries or watch stuff. And I was, really into reading Tolkien, and Star Wars was one of those things where it was just like I would watch those movies like crazy. I would, write stories and run RPGs when that became a thing when I was a little older. But I probably watched those movies for the first time when I was like 4, and Han Solo like raised me effectively. Like I spent more time with the Star Wars crew than anyone meaningful in my family. So, yeah, dude, it's in my DNA, and I've just kept up with it since.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you're a little younger, Travis, obviously, but the 80s. I mean, like Star Wars was to call Star Wars big. Was what I mean? Like it was everywhere as a kid.
I'm jealous I wasn't alive during that time because I know a lot about that period because I've just seen like a lot of media and documentaries and behind the scenes videos, and like it looks so crazy. Everyone was like
it was
me,
everywhere.
A nerd.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the era of 80s cartoons and Saturday morning cartoons and kind of all the toys, all that stuff, and Star Wars was everywhere. So I just grew up with it around. And I was never like hugely fascinated, but I always enjoyed it. And my older brother had all the toys because they were alive when they were kids when the New Hope came out in 77, was it?
77?
It's 77, 80, and 83.
Yeah, they're several years older than me. So they had all those toys, and kind of, as he became a teenager and grew out of them, like I inherited all those. I still have them. I still have all the original Star Wars figures and everything packed away.
Nice.
But yeah, anyway, so I always liked it, but I was always more a Transformers guy. G.I. Joe was big, all those 80s classic
Joe.
Yeah, G.I. Joe, Transformers is always, if you watch anything about toys, I've known, for whatever reason, I had a lot of friends who were toy collectors over the years.
Yeah, I didn't have Star Wars toys.
Yeah, what they always told me is that G.I. Joe and Transformers are the big debate. Like in the 80s, like what's the best toy, Transformers or G.I. Joe?
I had
Obviously,
He-Man.
the answer is Transformers.
I had
He-Man. I would agree with Transformers.
I had a little rolling Orko. I had a little Castle Grayskull. I was all excited about He-Man.
Wow.
You want to actually? Here's a little dumb for you that I can't. Since I can't do the Star Wars one as much. Castle Grayskull. When I think we've joked about this being poor growing up. I know you and I have, Travis. Mm-hmm. I wanted Castle Grayskull so bad, couldn't afford it. My mom cut out a cardboard box and drew on it to make it look like the skull, and I would just play with He-Man.
That's a nice act.
My mom is awesome, no doubt.
Cool.
What was I going to say? Damn it, there was one other thing. Mask, you remember Mask? Remember that, Hogue?
Big capital letters.
Yes, correct. Yeah, there were a lot of good toys in the 80s, man. Good stuff.
And a lot of cartoons to sell you those
They
toys.
all were filled with asbestos, but other than that, very good.
All right. We got some good chats about Star Wars, too. A few people saying they saw New Hope in 77 in the theater. A lot of fans in the chat, so shout out to all of you.
That would have been fun. Although you would have had to have a weird haircut and a porn stash, but it would have been fun in general.
I remember, I mean, I know you guys do too, but I remember when the prequels finally released and Phantom Menace releasing was a huge, huge event. And we went and saw it in the theater and everyone was just like,
did I tell you guys my relationship
didn't really
with
blow me away the way we were
Menace?
hoping. No, go ahead.
So that movie came out when I was in the 4th grade. I was basically a kid. And at that point in time,
I was in college.
That's cool. I mean, look, you guys are older than me. I was in grade school. I was a 4th grader when that movie came out. And at that point in time, I had only ever seen things that I liked. Everything's cool when you're that young. Oh my God, that's so cool. Transformers. Oh my God, that's so cool. And I was like that. And I love Star Wars more than anything. And I was so excited for that movie. And I went and saw it and I came out of the theater and I was like, why do I feel weird right now? And I realized it was because I had seen the first thing in my life that I did not enjoy. And it was like a shock to my system. I didn't even know that you could see something as cool as a Star Wars movie and not like it. And it took me like 3 days of processing it to be like, I don't think I liked this movie. And it awoke like my critic in my brain. Like I owe a lot of the fact that I'm like a critical person to seeing that movie at a young age and being like, I didn't like this movie. What the hell's going on?
Now the rest of us would get there with Last Jedi, Travis. It's okay.
No. Quite the opposite.
Yes, that's how it went down historically. Quite the opposite.
It didn't even occur to me that you could not like something that was recreational until that movie, which was great.
Super chat. Did you ever guys? I can't speak this morning. Did you guys ever see that Goofy comedy, Fanboys?
Yes.
So if you don't know the premise, it's a movie from the 2000s, I think, but it takes place in the mid 90s when the prequels are getting ready to release, and basically these Star Wars fanatics break into Lucas's ranch, and the whole plot is to break in and steal Phantom Menace so they can watch it before anyone else, right? So the only reason I bring it up is it has a great line right at the end of the movie. As the movie's closing out, they get the film, they're sitting down with their friends to start to watch it, and the movie closes with the line, and they look at each other and laugh and go, what happens if it isn't any good? But obviously it released after or something like that, but it
it's years after Phantom Menace.
They knew that it was going to be, they knew it was bad already.
I like Phantom Menace. I'll stand up for Phantom Menace. I won't stand up for Last Jedi.
You'll stand up for Phantom Menace?
I will stand up for Phantom
Jedi
Menace.
debates
Here's
today.
my question on you, Phantom Menace, if you like that movie. Who is the protagonist in that movie?
Senator Palpatine.
I just like that Phantom Menace. It's like Critical Flaws. It has no main character. Like if you try to pin down one person's main character, you're immediately like, oh, that doesn't work. It has no protagonist. That's like its critical flaw in that movie. You're just like, there's no one to attach to. You're not following anybody's story. It's just like a random sequence of events.
I haven't watched that movie
The Phantom Menace is about Senator Palpatine. As are most
a guy who's in the movie for like 4 minutes on screen.
Yep. I think he's probably like 10 minutes, but yeah.
I don't think that works. I don't think that cuts the mustard, sir. But yeah, that's a pretty bad movie. I rewatched the prequels because of Revenge.
Phantom Menace is not a pretty bad movie, especially against the rest of the Star Wars movies.
Oh, no, it's pretty bad. I would say it's second worst. Obviously, Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie. But...
You say obviously. I would take Attack of the Clones. If you had to Clockwork Orange me and put me in a room, I would take Attack of the Clones 24/7 before Last Jedi 24/7.
That's because you turned to the Empire long ago. You lost all sense of self or wonder.
See,
and that's okay.
All right, we had a timer. Remember, Star Wars.
We had a timer.
Moving on, we got to get our early super chats here, which are no longer early, but we're going to get to them anyway. Let's get caught up here. Googleman
81, €10 super chat. Tim Sweeney did a 4.5 hour Lex Friedman podcast and looking at the current top sellers in games. I inside chuckled at him dunking on Apple Mycopunk. A lot of that went over my head.
Me too. I got very little in this one. Google, good job.
Tim Sweeney has a very emotional relationship with Apple.
He does.
And Googleman chuckled at him using this time on the Lex Friedman podcast to dunk on Apple, as he does in basically every interaction he has in the outside world.
I don't think I even know who Lex Friedman is. It's not ringing a bell.
Very famous podcaster.
About what?
He's a little bit more famous than us about anything.
Oh, he's just just a big podcast.
He's an everything.
Yeah, when you're really famous, you don't have to choose a
type.
category.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Is he as ridiculously, is he like aligned in some sort of political spectrum or just kind of topics?
I honestly don't
His name's
watch
Lex,
him.
So I'm going to guess he's a billionaire.
I think he leans like conservative, but I don't listen to him. Maybe chat would be able to answer that question.
Okay. All right. It's okay. I was just kind of curious. What's Mycopunk?
I think it's my co-punk. Like Googleman would also knock Apple. He is Googleman after all.
That makes sense.
Okay. All right.
I love how we've all just we've adopted Googleman as the pronunciation. I love that I got that done. Like we all just accept it's Googleman.
Wait. Mycopunk's actually a game. Hold on.
Oh, interesting.
Mycopunk is a game. It's on.
It's a nice
Steam.
guess though, Hogue.
Oh, it's from Devolver Digital. It actually looks pretty cool.
It's Mycopunks. Wait,
I'm looking at it. It's Mycopunk.
The logo has an S, and then the Steam listing doesn't.
Well, then I'm going to assume that it's a cyberpunk or other punk type game that is you protagonizing a mitochondria.
No,
looks like a shooter.
It looks almost. It's got like a cell shaded look, almost a little bit. Not cell shaded, but kind of in that vein. It looks. This actually looks kind of cool. Anyone know? There's a demo on Steam for it. I may have to try this.
Give it a shot.
All right, Googleman, always confusing the hell out of us at the start of the show here. Appreciate you, my friend. Don Lionheart is here as well.
Don Lionheart, $5 super chat. Hello, cast crew. Back in Vomiting, New York for 3.5 weeks in lovely Florida. Good to be back to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Hopefully done soon. Yotai, Collector's Edition equals ordered. What else will come this fall? Thinking face.
The gates are open. Fall release dates.
They are. I think Borderlands is the one we know the furthest out in terms of AAA. I think anyway.
Well, Yotai is now. Yotai's October.
Well, Yotai is now. Yes, that's fair. I know Bloober's game Chronos is October, I think, and Supermassive's next horror movie game is in October as well. Because I just looked that up. Directive 8020. But yeah. All right. Let's see. A lot of people.
I anticipate the release of a Call of Duty project.
How dare you? Yeah, there is no historical,
precedent,
relevance there. Precedent, probably the best word. Yeah. So you're making that up, Hope. All right. Let's get Alejandro Segovia.
Alejandro Segovia, $4.99 super chat. Radical lawyer, don't be unhinged. Challenge level equals impossible. Expedition 33 is the second coming. A profound gaming art apotheosis. 11 out of 10. Winking kissy face.
I like that Alex doesn't trust us to realize he's being at least a bit sarcastic here, so he goes over the top of the top.
No.
Yeah, and he actually said he's joking.
Bukele, you missed one. C-caught this man. C-caught him.
Oh, man. Yeah, this actually came up on our Discord, Hogue, because of what I told you that someone shared one of your opinions on Blue Sky, which then got shared, which was kind of funny. So, Alex, thank you as always, my friend. Lucius is here.
I didn't know my thoughts had broke containment so much to leave the platform.
They have, because I was scrolling through, and I swear, like, for whatever reason, my timeline is just raving about Expedition. And then there was a screenshot of your tweet and someone saying, I don't know what they said. I got to be honest, I don't remember what they said. But
I'm sure it was, this guy has really thought this through, and I like the cut of his jib.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
Oh, Hogue. Oh, Hogue, you sweet summer child. Lucius Augustus offers a $5 super chat and writes, I think there are a lot of Souls elements, resetting enemies, shortcuts, weapon affinity based on stats, regenerating flasks. There's a lot there. I would argue that many of those things are in action games more generally.
I was just going to say, like, I don't like that we just are saying Souls did all these things. Shortcuts are not Souls. Weapon affinity based on stats is not Souls. Resetting enemies, I said
like saying
this
lettuce
last week.
is not a sandwich, but it is a component of one.
Dragon Quest 11 has respawning enemies. They respawn endlessly all the time. You walk around them just like you do.
That's not the same mechanic.
I think it would be like saying lettuce originated from sandwiches.
If you have lettuce between two pieces of bread, you can say it's sandwich inspired.
What about salads? Lettuce is also in salads. Isn't it also salad inspired and therefore irrelevant?
You guys want to say that everything everywhere has already been in games. That's fine. But these things all together create
not everything
rhythm.
Everywhere, right? Like, I think the best way to explain why I disagree with your assertion is if you point at all the things Souls-likes have that this game doesn't. Like, for example, losing some sort of material when you die, or there being like stakes to losing. Like, that's a large part of Souls-like formula, right? Is like the whole you're going to lose progress by failing, but that's kind of part of the fun. It doesn't have any of that. It would be like saying this has got roguelike elements when it's missing like the key roguelike element of having to reset after every playthrough, right? It's
as defined by you. But I'm telling you, you guys are ignoring how much this mirrors the rhythm of playing a Souls game, and it's clearly built into the design of the game. I don't even know what we're fighting about here.
I'm not fighting about anything. I'm just hanging out, having a good time. I just think it's funny. I said this last week that like people are so quick to go to Souls comparisons without thinking about what other peer titles may have more in common.
I don't care that they've ruined it for every game ever made has been a Souls game because that's what reviewers have done. This one is. So yes, the boy cried wolf too much. I have not personally cried wolf. I'm telling you now that Expedition 33 is clearly influenced and contains significant amounts of Souls game DNA.
No, you're not telling. You're saying there's a difference. It's your opinion. It doesn't mean you're right.
I didn't suggest that I was right. I think telling and saying in this context is I am communicating verbally the notion that this is containing Souls DNA.
Yeah. But again, using what's listed here, right? All of these things exist in other areas, in other JRPGs.
All of the things as put into Expedition 33, the game we are talking about, work together to create a rhythm similar to a Souls game.
I think using the word rhythm there is way out of line, but okay. Because again, the game plays nothing like a Souls game. So if you're saying rhythm as you're playing it,
yes, the experience of playing it, you're going to have the beats of a Souls game. You are.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on from that one. We'll agree to disagree. So, Lucius, thank you anyway, my friend. Good to see you. TJ is in the chat.
TJ, he's a cyberpunk TJ. €2 super chat. Good Lord, what a nerd. I think that's him responding to me talking about my Star Wars upbringing.
It was.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
What was that image in reference to? I forget. It was one of our AI ones, right? The future one?
I think it's when the TJ lore came out.
It was Tron. Was our
and the TJ lore. We have lore for TJ now.
We do, yeah. He's the alternate version of me who's a Chad, and he's very popular with the ladies.
It's a very alternate version.
Extremely alternate, yeah. I'll tell you that much.
That's awesome. Thank you, as always, whoever you are, you mystery person. Shoosh is here.
Shoosh, €2 super chat. Is hot dog a meat-inspired sandwich?
We've already talked about hot dogs and whether they're sandwiches or not.
We have. I don't remember where we landed, but we have talked about that.
I would argue a hot dog is not a sandwich primarily because of the connection point of the bread. If your bun breaks, you might be eating a cylindrical sandwich.
Would you say it's inspired by sandwiches?
The hot dog? I would say that the concept of putting meat between pieces of bread or bread locations probably is a sandwich through line. The hot dog might have sandwich DNA, yes.
Do you think the developers of the hot dog were inspired by sandwiches?
I don't know that we have anything in our historical understanding to suggest that we have a large development of hot dogs. But
I think sandwiches are a spectrum, and hot dogs exist on that spectrum as a sandwich. But to describe it simply as a sandwich would be a little unhelpful,
please
non-specific.
point to me where I ever said Expedition 33 was a Souls game.
Pretty sure you said that.
No.
I was just talking about sandwiches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just talking about hot dogs. That's
Yeah,
all.
a Pop-Tart is a sandwich in my book. It exists on a very specific part of the spectrum, but it's there.
I'm glad that you have a hot dog spectrum. I like to think that it's
Oh, yeah,
on
of
your
course.
wall just off camera.
Of course. Yeah. Here, I'll show you the. Let me just.
He's referencing the chart.
What would you do if it was like a giant mural right over there?
Oh god. Douche, thank you, man.
I don't know if that would reduce or improve my credibility on the show. Like, guys, I thought.
Oh my god. All right, let's talk about.
Calzone is definitely a sandwich. Yeah, of course.
Let's talk about some games. Why don't we?
I guess.
I want to close this one out just on Oblivion. So I haven't played it anymore, but last week when we spoke, Travis, you were talking about kind of putting more time, finishing the review, finishing Shivering Isles and all that stuff. So where did you land on this thing in finality?
Let's look at my playtime. I've played 159 hours and 40 minutes of this game.
That's way too much.
Yeah, it is a lot for how much I played it. Yeah, it's I'm done with it. I beat all this content. I've done all the things in the game. Rose to the top of each guild and beat the story and the expansion. I've done it. I've done it all. My review is also done. I'm now just working on some guides, which is why I have so much playtime. Like I did a guide on. Oh, by the way, this video isn't out yet, but I'm so excited for it to be out because I think it is my most unhinged video I've ever made for IGN. And I'm very excited for it. But it's a guide on when and where to do all of the Daedric quests, which is kind of confusing in this game if you don't know where they are, like me, by memory. Yeah, I'm very excited for that video. But yeah, I'm just about done with it. So I did get to play a bunch of other games this week, but I have put an ungodly amount of time into Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, and it's pretty good. I gave it an 8 out of 10. The reason for that being it is a pretty good remaster. It accomplishes the very difficult feat of making Oblivion feel like you remember it being, which if you actually play the OG Oblivion, it does not play how you remember it playing. It's missing like certain things that I think we take for granted in this modern game development age that make it pretty hard to play. And if you play Oblivion Remastered, you sort of don't notice that stuff because the rough edges are mostly kind of sanded down, which is great. However, it is still Oblivion, and it still has some like core old school game design that is a little rough in retrospect. For example, enemy level scaling and the way that works is still pretty much just as bad as it was. I mean, they fixed up the way you level and made that way less irritating, but they still made it so that 40 hours into the game, you're going to start running into like regular ass bandits that have like full glass enchanted armor, and you're like, wait, what? Like, why is all my power now meaningless? Which is something you don't really see in RPGs anymore, specifically because games like Oblivion during this era did it, and people did not respond well to it because it doesn't feel particularly good. And then it also just has like truly horrible performance the longer you play it. I mean, it gets real bad. Like after 40, 50 hours, you start getting crashes, and then like long into the game, you start having like repeated frame rate problems, just like stuff is breaking all the time, which, to be fair, is how I remember Oblivion being. So it's kind of true to form in that sense. But yeah, it starts to get really rough with the performance. So there's sort of an upper limit on how amazing Oblivion will be for you, and it depends largely on like your personal association with that game and your relationship with it. If you've never played it before and you're open to games that feel a little older school in their design, you might have a great time. And if you're somebody who just has no tolerance for like outdated game design, you're probably not going to enjoy yourself. But I had a great time, and I think probably most people will too. It's a good RPG, little rough, but nice. For the most part, a lot of fun. and I'm still going to play a little bit of it for guides, but I'm pretty much wrapped on it. So, and I think I'm about to get all of the achievements in this game again, which is not super hard to do in Elder Scrolls games, but it does mean that you have to have done like every quest line in the game, which I appear to be closing in on. So,
okay, wow,
good times.
It's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep,
it's good.
It's a good game.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm sorry to hear that it breaks apart as you.
Yeah, it really does. It really does, man. I actually don't even really remember. I've played so much of this game. I've now played more of the game where it was buggy. I kind of have already forgotten how well it performed at the beginning, because I do remember the first like couple dozen hours. I was like, "Wow, this game runs great." And now that statement seems like laughable. Having played more of it, I'm like, "There's no way that I thought that at one point that it ran well, because it just so doesn't."
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I know there was conversation last week or week before around like Oblivion Shadow dropping the same week as Expedition 33 launching in Game Pass and chatter and all that, but it seems like Expedition 33 has done just fine.
And it was Oblivion, by the way. It's not a zero-sum game really with RPGs, it seems.
Yeah. And I know it was either the publisher or someone related to Expedition 33 came out and said it not only didn't hurt us, it may have helped us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of noise when the Shadow Drop happened about maybe that Kepler or Sandfall should be upset about Microsoft doing this to them. And one of the things I'd said is, well, you can't write in to your Game Pass contract that you're not allowed to release anything, even in our genre. So that was never going to fly. But you can have bad feelings towards Microsoft because they decided to do it now. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It doesn't look like they do. One of the other things I said at the time was that it's not a bad idea to have a giant release on the subscription platform you're going to be releasing on in a couple days, because bare minimum, you got to go through that menu system and you're going to see other things in that Game Pass screen. And it does look more like that happened than people decided that this 20-year-old game that is a Western choice-based RPG is going to be entirely what I need in my role-playing as against this French JRPG experience. So it looks like rising tide raised all ships in this case.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So it's good. It's good to see success on both. So I know, let's talk Expedition 33 outside of the commentary we just had, of course. Let's talk about the game itself. So, Hogue, I know you finished it. And you finished it fast, my friend.
Oh, you did?
Put some serious time into it. He didn't just finish it this week. He finished it by like Monday.
Oh, yeah. I finished it shortly after the show last week.
That is proof alone that it doesn't have Souls-like DNA, because you beat it. Got him!
All right, we're not going to get into the Souls conversation.
No.
Just go full shock jockey mode. I'm like,
need to get sound effects. Wow.
Oh my.
So Travis, you finally got to put some time into it. I put a little more time into it, and Hogue has finished it. So we can talk about the game more. Hogue, I want to pass to you because I know you have thoughts on.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, so contain yourself, my friend. But thoughts on the game as a whole.
I like Expedition 33 a lot, and I've talked about it in this space, but part of your reaction to games, certainly part of my reaction to games, is based on expectation. And I had said I thought I was putting too much on Expedition 33 before it launched. I had watched all the character trailers. I had followed all the marketing. This was one of the things I was most excited about this year. And I like this game. It turned out great. The art and music are sublime. Top of class, as good or better than anything ever in the video game industry. Happy to give that. And that art and music is what I think a lot of people are reacting to. It definitely pulls on the emotional heartstrings in various scenes. But the plot of the game, the story of the game, has a couple of things that we're not going to spoil here on the Bitcast for you all that are interested in this game. That I don't like as story conceits that take away from my enjoyment of the overall structure of the game, and ultimately left me with a story by the time the credits rolled that I thought was pretty much less than. And this is the first effort of a game company. I don't think it's terribly offensive to say, you know what, the art and music are the best I've ever seen. Keep killing it there, but maybe you guys can think about the writing a little bit more. But that apparently is God's greatest offense to the fan base right now. So
of course it is. It's a JRPG. Welcome.
That's out there. I think it's a very emotionally effective game. I think the social media conversation about it being the most profound thing that's ever been said in art and whatnot, everything else that's going on around there is way overblown for this game. That's one of the reasons you saw Alex's super chat be what it was, as he's trying to emulate or make fun of some of the thought process that is out there. He also knows that I disagree with this because we had been chatting separately as he finished the game this week. And so I think it's useful to continue to critique things in a game, even if I think it's a good game, even if I think it does a lot of things stupendously well. Others disagree with me on that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm so I don't know where you are, Travis. I'm deep into Act 2. So I have thoughts on where the story is going and some of the beats so far, and I've enjoyed it.
Would I know which act I'm on, or are you just defining?
You would. Yes, there are clear cuts.
Then I'm on Act 1. It would seem.
You've already forgotten the giant screen that says Act 1, so that's a good sign.
Yeah,
there are.
The whole screen is black with the words Act 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought it was trying to tell me how to act, how to behave in my life.
But I'm enjoying it. I don't think I'm interested in the story and the characters. I really like the characters in the sense of like this kind of gang of misfits or whatever you want to call them, which is pretty typical in a game like this. But I can't speak intelligently about the full story arc just yet because I'm obviously not there. So I'm still enjoying my time with it. I feel like typical when I play these games, like with SK, I'm just exploring all over the place. I'm going to all the little beaches and fighting all the extra hard bosses to see if I can beat them. So I'm moving a little slower than others as I play, which is typical for me. But I'm enjoying it. I just don't think, it hasn't. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the beat so far, but I don't know where I'm going to land on it. So how much time did you put in, Travis?
I don't know.
You're in Act 1, so
I'm in Act 1.
You're still early.
Yeah, I'm running around. Got some party members. We're killing little puppet monster boys. Yeah, it's a weird game, weird world. But I'm liking it a lot. I really like it.
Did you get so you got Mael, right? Did you get your fourth party
underwater? No.
Okay. You're pretty early.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're pretty early. Yeah.
That's okay. I'm still a person. You don't have to say it like that.
No, but I'm curious to see what you think long term, and hopefully with Arc Raiders, which I'm going to talk about soon, ending today actually, I'll probably get some more time with Expedition this week. So
yeah.
see.
For the record, Ains, I would say one of my criticisms of the storytelling in this game is its telegraphing. So I'd be willing to bet, and obviously we're not going to spoil anything here, but I'd be willing to bet that you know exactly where things are going if you're deep into Act 2.
I have a hunch. Yeah,
I would say that is true of all JRPGs. A very predictable story, very overwritten. Maybe they're just following the style.
It's definitely not overwritten, Travis.
That's cool.
Please,
like that.
Please hold until you get further in the game. Thank you. Your commentary.
We say this to you all the time, and you don't. Yeah,
I don't make projections about what the future of the game holds.
I wasn't talking about this game. I was saying the JRPG genre, overwritten, very predictable story. So if it's got a predictable story, maybe they're just doing a JRPG thing.
The story is look. People get mad at me at this. The story is bad. You've seen the story beats of this game in other media done much better in the very recent past. You've seen it done in video games in the recent past. And unfortunately, I think people struggle with that particular position because it's so darn good at art and music and acting. The characters are nice. The story and plot, not as much. You can look at a project as a totality of compositional pieces and say that piece doesn't hold up as much as these other pieces. That's okay.
Yeah. Agreed. So we'll talk more about that, our thoughts anyway, Travis and I, later. Is there anything else you wanted to say on it, Hogue, before we close out on Expedition?
Oh, no. I have thought and talked about Expedition 33 enough. If anybody wants to see more of my thoughts, they are on Twitter. You can go see them. They're apparently also on Blue Sky. It's news to me as of today. But you can see them there. Expedition 33 is a good game. I highly recommend everybody try it. It is not the Second Coming. It is not going to change your life or the way that you think about the human experience, but it is a very good video game.
this was your most anticipated game of the year.
Yep.
Is it your favorite game so far this year?
No.
What else is released? No.
I would say that I enjoyed both Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Split Fiction more than Expedition 33.
Okay.
Depending on my mood, I might also like Blueprints more.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still of the opinion that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is still the best game they released this year, but that's just me. I do need to play more of Expedition. So I'm about 20, I think I'm about 20, 25 hours in an Expedition, something like that.
That's pretty long. Is this a long game? How long?
It is not long, and I finished it like 30 and change.
Yeah, nice. Again, remember, I scroll all over the damn world, wasting time. So, yeah. All right. Let me talk to you a little bit about Arc Raiders. So Arc Raiders, if you're not familiar, and I'll set this up quickly, it is made by Embark Studios, which also makes the finals, which I've talked quite a bit about. It is a extraction shooter, so it's drawing a lot of comparisons to Marathon, not for the way it plays or for its style or anything like that, but just genre-wise, what you're attempting to do. It had a alpha back in late last year. They're calling this, depending on where you look at, Travis and I were joking about this, depending on where you look, they're calling it either a technical test, an alpha 2, or a beta. So one of those, take it as you will. There's no hard release date for this game yet, but they did send out a lot of codes for people to try this, and it's running through today. By the way, as I say this, I have 2 extra codes sitting around for, I think it's Steam. If anyone in the chat wants to try this today, because it ends later tonight, let me know. I'm happy to ping you a code. Anyway, so the premise here is it's in the future. Robots have basically destroyed most of humanity. Again, as they tend to do, damn robots. And so you're kind of living underground, and it's kind of got almost like a Mad Max-ish type feel. There's a city underground where people live. They go out to the surface to try and, get things to continue civilization, right? Creating guns and weapons and other stuff. And when you go out, you basically go up to the surface, you do your run, you try to get loot and other stuff, and then you try to extract back out. Very similar premise to what Travis and I talked about with Marathon. So you have its PvPvE. In the case of this, the bots, so let me say a couple things. First, this is a third-person shooter. If you can imagine PUBG polished for 2025 on a modern engine and running well, while you have meta progression and loot and skill points and stuff that carries long-term match after match. PvE. Yeah, that's kind of what this is. So right now in the alpha, there are 3 maps you can play. Once you get far enough, they unlock as you go. There are 3 maps, and this game has taken kind of streaming, and some of the very popular competitive shooter guys like Shroud and those guys have been streaming this and really kind of raving about it. So it's kind of gained a pretty big audience very quickly over the last few days. So I jumped in on either Wednesday or Thursday, and I will tell you, outside of maybe an hour or 2 of Expedition yesterday, this is all I have played over the past 4 or 5 days. I think I have like 15 hours, 16, maybe 18 hours in this already. Just playing late into the night. And this game has that just one more run feel nailed. There's something about, it's really hard to kind of pinpoint what makes this game so much more intriguing to me than Marathon. And this is kind of they're not super similar in art aesthetic, gameplay, etc. But because they're both extraction shooters that are coming out, there's obviously comparisons to draw there.
And they're both having like tests right now, or runs
tests right now, right? And I think what makes this game, I've tried to kind of sit back and think what makes this game so much more interesting to me and others than Marathon. And I think there's a couple things. One, it feels a lot more fully fleshed out in terms of a game world. So Marathon, when you go into it, it's just a couple menus, and you have these vendors. It's very cryptic. And when you go into the world, the art direction is what it is, but it feels very streamlined. Arc Raiders feels a lot more dense. So it's got like this home base. You go to different vendors to talk about things and create things. You have a full like workshop and crafting table set up to make weapons and upgrade weapons and make shields and all this stuff. You get there's a leveling system with points. You have skill tree that help with like your agility and your climbing and your looting and all these different things in the world. It just feels much more fully fleshed out. So that's one piece. I think the piece that I find the most interesting, though, is the actual playing in the game itself. So when you get into the game world, the maps feel very dense. There's more sight lines. There's more verticality. There's more options of engagement, both with the bots that are very intelligent, by the way. They've programmed these bots amazingly well. And they will hunt you down and really go after you. And two, the PvP element is much more engaging. It feels very strategic, feels very deep, and it feels very team-based. So you can go in solo, of course, or go in with squads of 2 or 3. And it's got some sort of formula that's really, really clicking. It's just very well designed. It's very well polished already, runs very smooth, and it's very addicting. I can't really say much more about it than that, but me and several of the guys I play with have just been playing this game nonstop, which I can't say for Marathon. So it is what it is. There's no release date. This ends today. We'll see what Embark does after this. But it has really gained an audience really quickly. And I think if they really flesh this game out and we see what the full product is, extra maps, long-term loot, the big kind of long-term progression, I think they really may have a hit on their hands here, it's exciting. So sorry, that was a few minutes, but
no, I think it's great. I think there's very few people that have actually played both, so I'm very interested in this conversation. Travis,
I've also played both. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me, Travis. What do you think?
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of
caveat how much you've played Arc Raiders.
Like 6 hours.
I talked to you Friday and you hadn't played it.
Yeah, there's been 3 days since then.
No, there's been a day since then. So
what are you talking about?
Caveat me. It's
Sunday morning. You just Friday morning. Yeah.
All right.
So I've had the game for 2 days, and I've played like 6 hours of it. So
I'm watching you,
which is about as much as I played of Marathon, by the way. So, my impressions of this is that it's actually interesting because I think it does a lot of the stuff right now better than Marathon, and Marathon does a lot of stuff better than it, and they kind of don't have a lot of overlap with what they do well. Like I would give Marathon easily like the edge in like gunplay and in the AI. I don't think the AI and I don't think the AI in Arc Raiders is particularly
AI is
good.
So much more superior in Arc Raiders by a mile.
I actually don't think that's true. And I would obviously give them the edge, Arc Raiders the edge in like progression and all of the world stuff that you talked about, and also just feels more polished. But then again, this is their second technical test. It is a beta build of the game. And the technical test that they sent out said that it was a, quote, opportunity for them to evaluate the player experience across a number of areas with special attention to updates and improvements we've made since our last tech test 6 months ago. So it seems like this is like progression. They mentioned that in like the onboarding email when you sign up for it. So whereas Marathon is in an alpha state that wasn't even supposed to be shown to the general public originally. It was an NDA'd like early alpha, right? So it'll be interesting. My guess would be Arc Raiders probably comes out first, right? Like they don't have a release date yet, but my guess would be that they release it at this point, especially since it's catching fire, and then they build on it as they go.
If this continues in the same vein with like the streamers and the kind of zeitgeist presence that they have, if I'm the business guy, I try to land it right on top of Marathon.
I would say they should probably beat them to market if they could. Right?
I don't think you need to. I think if the comparison helps you, then the comparison helps you. I would land it the same week.
Right.
We were talking last night about... Sorry, Travis.
I would just say if I were the people making the game, I wouldn't know how Marathon, like if you're a game developer, you know that the alpha that was supposed to be under NDA is not going to be representative of the final product. So stuff like progression and the things that Arc Raiders is like clearly more developed on, I wouldn't count on that being the case when the game comes out. Like if Marathon has the progression it has in the alpha when the full game comes out, it's going to fail as a game, but they would be very stupid to do that, and I don't think there's any expectation that that's how it's going to be. So you might be putting yourself into a dogfight that is not helpful to you.
But you're a business-minded guy, Travis. You can't run scared from these kinds of things. Right now, you have every reason to believe that placing yourself in the same position in that same conversation as a company that you know is going to get press is a good idea. So if you can put it in that same week, And I'm not saying you go second. I think you should probably go first if you can. But I would land it right on top of them and say every time you mention Marathon, you're going to mention Arc Raiders because that's what's happening out there in the world. And we're going to take all that free press.
Don't you think that'll happen if they do it like a month, 6 weeks before? Because I would say that
weaker
would still
connection.
Happen.
I think it becomes a weaker connection.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same vibes for this game that I felt for Helldivers 2. It's got a very similar, like, people are just like in there and playing it. The question is, can they keep people interested? It'll be progression. It'll be live service development. And I don't know what the breakout of their team is to deliver something like that, but I'll be interested to see.
I don't know either. And I mean, neither of these games are for me, right? Like, I don't look forward to playing either of them. I'm just saying from a purely competitive business perspective, the difference in reception between Marathon and Arc Raiders as it stands right now, with your points, Travis, as this being essentially the next step of testing, and probably it's unfair to compare them directly at this moment in time.
Yeah,
that's what
I don't
people
think
are doing because that's the human experience.
Yeah, so, absolutely. It is funny that Bungie's original plan was to not show anybody the alpha, and they were like, all right, we'll open up and be vulnerable. And then like Arc Raiders drops right on top of it and makes that like very harmful for their product, which is probably part of the reason that they weren't going to show it in its current state.
Well, the world didn't catch on fire even before the Arc Raiders test started. So, I mean, like that's an issue with Bungie and Marathon anyway.
No, I don't think it was going to catch on fire regardless. And I don't think that was the point of the alpha. Like the alpha wasn't even supposed to be shown to people. And I think with reason, like if you play the alpha, it feels like earlier than a general member of the public has ever played a game. Like I play games that are in Marathon's current state, and I know and fill in because I've seen games develop where it's going to be when it comes out in September. I'm like, okay, obviously the progression's not here. Obviously they're going to clean this up, that up, and whatever. But I think when you're just a player who's not used to playing games 6 months before they launch, you see a game like Marathon in its current state, and you go like, oh, this game's bad because you don't have the context of like, well, there's still a lot missing from this build that is, you know, you're not really getting a taste for how the game's going to be. So when I do like previews of a game that are as early on as Marathon, I tend to focus on like, can they do a core thing well, right? Is the gunplay good? Are they on kind of the right path to where I could see them getting to a successful product?
Travis, I think that's entirely fair, but let me offer the counter position, which is that you only do get that first impression chance once. And if people file Marathon because of this under, well, that one's bad and Arc Raiders is good, you're not going to be able to easily fix it, even if you build up everything else in the next 6 months for that September release.
Well, it's 4 months away.
I kind of disagree. I think people's sentiments change like really quickly on games that were once terrible and now they're really good. I mean, we've seen it happen so many times in the industry where like think about Fortnite. Fortnite came out and it was like nobody cared, base building co-op game, and then suddenly it became this amazing battle royale. So I think public sentiment can be changed pretty quickly, and that is a good thing. It provides opportunity. It also could be a very bad thing because it means that your audience can turn on you really quickly. And so, 4 months from now, we could be talking about how Arc Raiders fumbled the bag because they, pulled a Halo Infinite and released a great game and then did no live service support for it, or they did it too little too late, right? We could be talking about it from that context. So I think it is a little too early. It's very interesting to watch this all going on. And I think the thing that makes me excited is that like these products existing around the same time is pretty great for players because it means they're going to be competing with each other. We have like this extraction shooter dogfight going on that I think is cool. And it'll be interesting to see how they play off of each other and vie for attention and becoming like the Fortnite of the extraction shooter genre.
Yeah, I think the whole conversation around extraction shooters was, I think, people trying to figure out where their place is and is this going to be the next big thing. And we talked a couple weeks ago about Bungie obviously placing their bet that this can be the next big thing and they can popularize it like they did the first person shooter on consoles with Halo and the kind of, whatever you want to call Destiny at this point, mini MMO. I don't know what you would really reference as that ongoing.
It's Destiny.
It's Destiny. And so
shooter.
Yeah, and I think, we're going to talk about looter shooter here soon.
I was going to say, there is an interesting conversation to be had about that.
But I think Yeah, I think after playing both, what Arc Raiders does from a gameplay perspective, again, this is just for me, in my opinion, is that is it just feels like, okay, now I get it. Now I get what you're trying to do with the extraction shooter genre and why it's cool. Whereas Marathon, I spoke highly of Marathon when we played it because I do like the gunplay, I do like the elements, I like the moments we had as a team. But like Arc Raiders has overshadowed that broadly, at least in these builds. Again, you said right.
Yeah.
They're both, early. And I think what's really neat, right, is when you think about, for me, because I've played thousands of hours of PUBG. It's one of my most played games, which sounds crazy, I realize. But, we always kind of said, like, PUBG, obviously the experience of a battle royale at its core is winning. You win that match, right? And that's very exciting, intense, and what have you. And then it's over. And I think what's really cool of what Arc Raiders has shown is getting in, getting your loot, having those crazy battles, and then extracting successfully gives you that kind of serotonin hit or whatever, that moment, right? But then you're carrying that forward, and you're continuing to build, and you have objectives, and you have missions, and you have things you can do in the world. And I think it does that extremely well. So it really surprised me. We don't have to stay on it any longer, but I'm very curious to see where this releases, to your guys' point. Marathon is 4 months away. It's not a long way off. And so I very
Arc
curious.
Raiders is like 2 months away, just based on where it's at with its build. It also depends on like team size and how quickly they're building it out. But it feels like this has most of what Arc Raiders is going to be at like a base level. And Marathon feels like the opposite.
Kind of. It feels, yeah. I don't know where it's going to release. We were talking about that last night, and I was saying I could see like August, to your point. I think that may be a good release date for them, but I don't know. Again, Embark was not a huge studio, and they've been excellent with finals. I've talked about that, right? Their cadence of updates and deliveries and finals is really impressive. So I don't know how well they're staffed to support both these games.
Well, they're about to get more staff, would be my guess.
Yeah, exactly. They have to, right? Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have to see post launch. But again, if you are interested in this game, a lot of people streaming it. You can check it out and just see what it looks like. And it's been very, very, very popular. And we've had some really hilarious times in the past few days.
Ains, do you personally have a preference on third person or first person on these types of games?
No. I think what I really vibe with Arc Raiders is it feels like PUBG. And, PUBG
very
is
much so.
Still
even it's
janky. Yeah, it just feels like that. And the reason I say it feels like that, it's very tactical. So, like, it requires a lot more precision, and it requires a lot more thought in how you're doing things, because you're not some super soldier. You're not some robot. Your movement, your angles, like checking your corners, swapping your shoulders, using cover, being strategic about grenades, like all that kind of stuff is very in depth in PUBG. That's what makes it so deep, and what I like about it. Arc Raiders replicates that pretty well, whereas Marathon feels much more like a straight competitive first-person shooter, like we talked about. So very different aesthetics. I like them both because I'm a competitive guy. Like I see what each is going for, and I'm like, all right, I have to outplay people this way in this game, this way in this game. I like them both.
Here's a question: could both of these games be successful?
Yeah,
if they come out,
I think they can.
You think so?
I think they can, because they're very different.
That
said, the one thing that concerns me is like what we've seen in this genre, and we've talked about this with live service games, is you're generally going to invest in one, right? So if you play battle royales, you're not playing Fortnite, Apex, PUBG all at the same time. You're playing one of them, the one you like best, because you have battle passes, you have cosmetics, you have all these other things. And if they're going to be long-term games, which both of these are going for, you're probably going to invest in one of them. Just my thought.
Yeah, my guess is that only one of these games is going to be successful, and I'd put my money on Arc Raiders right now, obviously. But it is also farther along, and it's kind of hard to tell where Marathon's going to end up. But the thing is, this developer that's making Arc Raiders, they released the finals for free, and my guess would be Arc Raiders is going to be free, and they're going to do that model. And we know
someone was just asking that, and Void said it's supposed to be $40, but I don't think that's right. I think if you look it up, Embark says that they describe Arc Raiders as a free-to-play title.
I think it's going to be free, and we know Marathon isn't, and so that makes me very nervous for that. As for somebody in the comments who's saying that I should take my opinion with a grain of salt because I'm inherently biased towards Bungie, if you've ever heard me talk about Bungie or Destiny, you would know quite the opposite is true. I, in fact, am possibly the person who is a Bungie person who is the most pessimistic. I mean,
you've always been a Destiny stan making excuses for them.
Sure, yeah, that's me, 100%. No, if you've heard me talk about this, I don't say this on stream because there's probably developers who watch this, but like if you hear me talk about it before, I'm like not super optimistic about Bungie's chances with Marathon, and I've expressed that where it's can. But again, you don't want to say how a game is going to turn out when you're previewing it, when it's in an early alpha build and you know that there's a lot you're missing. Like I talked to the developers at Bungie, so I know the stuff that is and isn't in the alpha build. And I think the things that are going to really turn people onto Marathon are things that they haven't seen yet, like the 4th map that is going to have apparently like secrets and stuff. And there's layers to Marathon that I think appeal to a very different player than Arc Raiders, and Arc Raiders feels to me a lot more casual. That said, if you were to ask me straight up, Travis, you think Marathon's going to be like this huge game? I'd be like, I don't think so. Yeah, because you can hop on and hop off that game in a way I think you kind of can't with Marathon, right? Yeah, like you can hop in and do like one match and then hop out, and like you can do that 15-20 minute pocket of game, right? And Marathon feels like a lot heavier than that. Especially when you think about like the full version where you're like coordinating with teams on like, well, we have to do this match and then go to this match to like complete this quest thread. If you know what I'm talking about. Marathon.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah. I think Arc has some of that.
Yeah, but I think it's less involved, and I think that's. But to be clear, that is not a criticism. Like I think that's a net positive for Arc Raiders that like you can hop in and play it. That is super important to if these games succeed. And Marathon, you kind of have to go in with like, all right, well, I'm going to need a couple hours, and we're going to have to like work as a team to specifically accomplish this list of tasks. I think it's I think that's probably a problem for Marathon.
Okay, so from a quick scan of the news items here, it was originally supposed to be a free-to-play game. That's what Embark focuses on. But as of Gamescom opening night live last year in August, they said that it would be a $40 launch.
Great. Hogue, thank you.
I'll be Void.
Apologies for getting that wrong.
So it is $40.
$40.
Well, I mean, that news is as of last August, but it doesn't appear to have changed since then.
Wow. Cool. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we do have a horse race. Honestly, I think if Arc Raiders was free, we could just almost call it right now.
Well, the interesting thing too is the way again we're talking extensively on this here, but it has the way the tech test is set up. There's 3 different battle passes. They're cheap, right? But you pick based on like the cosmetic look of different structures, and then you can work down them. So they give you enough points in the tech test to just play around with it, of course. But it's going to be interesting how if it's going to be a paid game, right? What comes in that versus what's monetized. So yeah, we'll see.
I think monetization is going to play a pretty big part in this, maybe even as much as like if the game is good.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's not perfect. I have feedback for the team and kind of complaints about things, of course, but it has been very, very interesting. It took me by surprise. Like I was looking forward to it. I didn't think I'd like it this much, and I think that's true for a lot of people right now.
That's good.
It's really, it's cool. All right. So we got. Let me get these couple super chats, and we'll get some Hogue's notes and Tie Guy Tales.
Tie Guy Tales. Taozochi has been a member for 29 months. Sup, chat. Sup, Bitcasters. Sorry, Ains got to do it. Tamales, empanadas, Pop-Tarts, tacos, hot dogs, gorditas, or all sandwiches. Fight. Well, no fight for me, sir. Hard agree. Sandwiches are a vibe. A lot of people try to put sandwiches in a specific box. I say
no, those are all carriers of protein, yes. But because of that connection point that we talked about with respect to the hot dog bun, they are not sandwiches. Sandwiches require discrete sides of the protein delivery mechanism. I will stand on that ground.
So you think it has to deliver protein. So in that case, would you say that an ice cream sandwich is not a sandwich?
Pop-Tarts do not have protein, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course they don't. But I disagree with Hoag's definition foundationally. What I'm trying to get at is clearly he is a structural purist. He believes that in order for it to be sandwiched, it has to be structured a certain way. Is he also an ingredient purist? Is my question. Do you think an ice cream sandwich is a sandwich? It's in the name, sir.
Unfortunately, marketing does not determine the true reality of our world. So
very well.
I'm going to go with ice cream sandwich is not a traditional sandwich. No.
A traditional sandwich. So now we have a little caveat word I noticed you added. You appended, sir. Let's talk about traditional sandwich versus is it a sandwich? Is my question. I'm not
Welcome to talking with a lawyer, by the way.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just gonna say they're all inspired by sandwiches and leave it there.
Interesting. Yeah. Expedition 33 of sandwiches. Yeah, no, I'm going to go ahead and say they're all sandwiches. People try to put it in boxes, but you know what? We're all just out here trying to hold a meal in our hands. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, they're all tasty. Let's leave it there.
Yeah.
All right. Gaming with Passion.
Gaming with Passion offers some Polish money, 10 of them. FYI, the director of Expedition 33 is a Sekiro speedrunner.
I know we talk about it every week, but the Poles, they're using Zloty. We've talked about this every week.
Yeah.
I called it. I got it right. I nailed it.
You said Polish something or other, I believe.
Yeah, you did not say. You said, yeah, I don't know what you said, but
Polish
it wasn't
money.
Zloty.
That counts. That counts. I got it right. That was an accurate statement. I said Polish money, 10 of them. That counts.
By the way, if he's a Sekiro speedrunner, that guy games, because that's no joke.
I have every achievement in Sekiro, so game recognizes game. What up?
You and achievements.
Well, it's like in that game, that's actually difficult because I think you have to play through the game on like New Game Plus 7. Like I ran that game so much, I might be able to speedrun it myself, or at least I could at one point for sure. It's a good game.
Okay. It is a good game. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Gaming with Passion. Appreciate that. Where were we here? So, guys, hit me with any other games before we just get to the other bigger news topics like Borderlands and GTA.
Oh,
the nudes.
We're not doing nudes. No.
Why not? You guys always reject my segment ideas. I have all these great segments.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
It's like I'm trying to be creative. All right, I have this one platform to do it, and you guys are just saying, no, I won't show my genitals to the world, and I don't get it.
Oh my gosh!
Nobody wants that, Travis. Nobody wants that.
Fine.
Yes. So Hoag's Notes is mostly going to be a reflection of last week because the 100 line is just a really long game. But one thing I did want to add to the Hoag's Notes there, which is people should try the 100 line Last Defense Academy, both because it has a free demo that progress carries over, so there's no barrier to entry. Go try it out.
Nice.
But also because one of my favorite little non-news items this week was that because so many people were talking up Expedition 33 and using it to belittle other Japanese role-playing games, the creative director of Expedition 33 came out and said, no, we love JRPGs. You guys should try out the 100 line, Last Defense Academy. And I love that. Last Defense Academy's social media account then said, well, if you're done with school, you guys should go on an expedition and try Expedition 33. I always love to see developers doing that kind of thing. I did want to add to that conversation, though, that while they are both somewhat role-playing game-esque, the 100 line is a visual novel. It is very anime-based. I would not recommend it to Ains, for instance. And there is going to be a certain amount of culture shock if you say, hey, I love JRPGs now because I played Expedition 33. I would caution that doesn't mean that you'll necessarily love the 100 line Last Defense Academy. But if you like strategy role-playing at all, if you like visual novels and crazy trapped in a school setups like Danganronpa or 999, Zero Escape, etc., this combination of those categories is one of the best I've ever seen. And the 100 line Last Defense Academy is one of my favorite games of the year. Highly recommend it. Haven't gotten far enough in it story-wise to kind of speak on it at length, but I do recommend checking it out. And like I said, there's a free demo. Go get the free demo. The demo is so long, we never found out where the ending was. We had it for 2 weeks before the game actually released. We then moved over to the game on release, and we never found out where the end of the demo is. If you can find out, let me know. But check out that game. as recommended to you by Expedition 33, the best game ever, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
So check that out. The other thing I wanted to make a call out to is that I've been playing a lot of the Days Gone remastered. I will continue to stand up for Days Gone. It's one of my favorite of Sony's games of the last couple of years. I love that game, and the remaster is nice. It's mostly about lighting, but it's a nice remaster for the PlayStation 5. Highly recommend if you're at all interested in zombie apocalypses, but are a little bit over The Last of Us at this point, that Days Gone is an excellent place to spend your time. I'm done.
You're good. I would disagree with your last point, but you're good. That's awesome. It's not great. It's not great. 100 line. That's awesome though, Hogue. Glad it's so good. I did see that commentary as well because I think I shared it in our chat, the three of us too, about the developer sharing. That's always cool to see that kind of stuff. So, and I'm really just happy for Sandfall Interactive, right? We talk about it a lot here in the sense of these guys had a vision of the game they wanted to create. They were at Ubisoft. We talked about it. A lot of the leadership over there at Sandfall, and they went off, started up their studio, and made what, generally speaking, is a fantastic video game. So, good stuff. Joe, our PlayStation's Mr. Badbit, our PS Trophy Room host, says Days Gone is a game. That's for sure.
Days Gone is great, and I could not recommend it to more people. Yes.
Are you being serious, or are you messing with us?
No, I can show you the tweet when I finished Days Gone.
Opinion many times.
I knew you liked it. I didn't think you liked it that much.
Days Gone is great. No, absolutely.
Some of the worst writing in games.
Absolutely not. But you haven't finished Expedition 33 yet, so give it a shot.
I mean, like the level design, the things you do, the repetitiveness. Like, there's so many things wrong with that game. But anyway, all right, that's fine. In my opinion, anyway, as we always say.
We don't have to do that. We're not going to start it now. These are all our opinions.
Travis, you got anything, man?
Yeah. What did I play? I played Sunderfolk yesterday. You guys play Sunderfolk?
I have heard that's like ringing a bell, but I can't.
I would love to try that, but I don't feel like I could get enough people to the table, as it were.
You only need 4 folks. You got enough of those in your house.
No, my family is not that responsive to that request.
Yeah, so
it's a board game. Hold on, what?
No, it's a board game in video game form.
It is a video. It's like a tabletop RPG as a video game, and basically everybody plays the game on their cell phones. So it's sort of got like that party game feel. But you're playing it like I own it on Xbox, and you just control your character with your phone. It's sort of like Jackbox Party Pack, right? But it is a kind of a hidden gem. It's very cool. We had some people over yesterday for actual tabletop RPGs, and then when we were finished with that, we switched over to a digital version by playing that. Played it for a couple hours, had a good old time. It's a very interesting, unique idea for a game, and I think we'll probably play it again. What else did I play? Kazan, still working my way through that. Great game. Lunar.
It's a longer. I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but that's a long game because after we last
talked longer than I thought it was because I'm still not done with that damn game. Keeps going
and you're further than me. Like I kept playing it, and I beat several more bosses, more regions, side quests, all that stuff, and I'm still like, holy crap, this is just going.
I got past the Yeti. Did I say that? Got past the Yeti.
Fantastic. There we go.
I want to see if eventually, after buying the game, by the way, if eventually ever you beat the demo content.
Yep. That's a good goal. Having spent the money.
I told you just to play the demo, and you're like, yeah, I went and bought it. And I'm like, but you haven't even beaten the demo content yet.
I will grant that you told me not to buy it, but here I am. I have beaten the Yeti.
He doesn't listen to our advice, man.
Have you gone back to it at all?
Not like.
Well, since Expedition 33 came out, that was really the focus of my game time for the most part.
Sure.
So I will go back to it, but I have not.
How come you didn't put 159 hours into Oblivion, though?
No, I have not.
Interesting.
I'm not getting your hour counts in any respect, Travis, on any game. Okay.
I'd like to see if you can make it past the second level.
Disagrees. You got
Thank you, Ains. I'd like to think you believe
serious. That was genuine. Like I want to see it because that second boss is considered kind of a skill check. He's a pain for some, and it'd be cool if you got past him and checked out the bigger full game.
Yeah. Anyway, Kazan is a very long game, and I'm
It's a good game.
very far into it, and I feel like I'm getting close to the end. But great game. I still have Kingdom Come Deliverance, Split Fiction, South of Midnight, which my progress there is slow but happening. And then also, I just recently started my next review, which is Palia. If you guys remember that
big expansion.
Cozy MMO, it's getting a new expansion. This is actually a game I checked out at GDC and ended up not publishing anything about it because we wanted to do a review of it instead. It's coming to Xbox and PlayStation along with this new expansion, so it's kind of like they're going to be on all the platforms that they're going to be on after this, which is interesting. And I think it's a good time to review it.
With the exception of Switch 2, right? I mean, like, they're going to be on Switch 2.
Yeah, they're already on the Switch, so they're moving to Switch 2. But I think that's sort of I'm not counting like next generation consoles, but like the actual. This will be them on like every.
I don't think Kogue was either.
I was gonna say, kind of you to consider the Switch 2 next generation console.
Sure, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, they're going to be on all the platforms that they're going to be on after this. And so it feels like me a good time to review it. And what's interesting is that when I talked to them, they were like, please don't review it. We don't want to do reviews. And I was like, if you're not going to do it now, like, when are you going to do this? And made like a very long soapbox argument about they should do a review like now when this comes out. And then I was very surprised this week when their PR team sent review requests to more than me, like a bunch of people, and I'm like, I think I convinced them to make this the time that they ask for reviews for their game. So anyway, I'm going to be reviewing it. It's I've already put like 100 hours into the base version of the game from my preview days, and the fact that my wife is obsessed with this game, and so now I'll get to play the new expansion, which I already checked out at GDC a little bit, have some thoughts on already. And it'll be interesting to play it. I don't believe they're doing early access for this one because it is a live server game, and so I'll be playing it along with the rest of y'all on May 13th. It should be fun.
May 13th. So, yeah, I was just looking it up because we got the PR thing on it too. We may have someone on it. But
did they ask you for a review? They were like, "Hey, we're doing a review period."
Yeah, review opportunity. Yeah,
dude, I swear to God, I think I convinced them to do that because they were straight up like actively against it when I talked to them about it at GDC.
And it looks like they're offering their gold service, which I guess you can speeds up your progress and whatnot.
Yeah,
right?
Gold is basically something you have to grind for. So if you are given like a batch of gold, it helps you get through the existing story faster. So I would say that gold progress bump, Ains, is probably more for people who just want to get to the new content and have already kind of played a lot of the old stuff. But if you have not played the old stuff, you probably shouldn't use the gold because you get a good sense of like what the grind is like without it.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. I got nothing else to talk about. I played nothing but Expedition and Arc Raiders this week. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've done all the stuff. Oh my gosh, are we gonna get to? Do I get to snap now?
We haven't
we do the
talked about our topics yet. I like Hogue. I love that every week the actual topics that I send is news to Travis as if they don't exist.
Well, we did have a minor delay.
Because you send them while I'm sleeping, and then I wake up and go to the show.
It's clicking a link.
Yeah,
you act like it's a complicated process.
All right, Mom and Dad.
You act like I have time. I wake up 20 minutes before the show. What am I supposed to
wake up earlier? That's not my fault.
You want me to wake up earlier than I already do? I went to bed at 3 a.m. last night. What do you want from me?
Again, your fault. That's your choice. Why don't you just
do things a day earlier? Why don't we make it about you? Why do I have to adjust? Why don't you do things a day sooner?
And it sounds like a very typical generational fight here. But Travis, I think you could do better. Haynes, certainly you could back up the delivery of the messages if you wanted, but we want to make sure we capture all the news items.
Right before we go live, maybe?
He doesn't do it last minute. It's like a couple hours before we go live.
Yeah.
That's about as last minute as you can do it.
No, because you show up like 2 minutes before we go live. So there is a level of last minute later.
It's called being on time, all right? What do I gain by being here at the desk sooner?
You might
you gain knowledge of what the F we're talking about, so we don't have to have this discussion.
Or you could just do it like,
No, it's important to have this conversation live on the show.
when you have a board meeting, you have to post about it 72 hours notice. All right. I feel like we should follow.
We
Robert's
cannot
rules of
post
order.
news topics 3 days in advance of the show that happens every week.
And to
Tell
be
me any
clear,
of this.
don't take
Are our main topics timely? Are they more than 3 days old, or are they not?
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Some of this is from Friday.
I think,
But I do want to give a
definitely more than
disclaimer
24
here
hours
because
old.
you just heard a deadline from Travis about board notices. I will offer that they differ by jurisdiction and that this particular podcast does not offer legal advice.
This I do. I offer legal advice.
He
Everything
does
I
not.
say is legal
There
advice.
is no legal advice being given here. Please
Everything-
consult with your own statute about the notice period for your board agendas.
Everything I say is both legal advice and financial advice that you could take straight to the bank.
You know, we broadcast on my channel too, Travis. You're killing me.
Yeah, but
bro.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm a comedian. I can say whatever I want with impunity.
No.
You can't sue me.
That's not how
I'm
it
under
works.
satire law, bro.
There isn't
Take
satire law, bro.
Look, yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is. Absolutely, there is.
No.
If you, bro, I'm going to teach you about law right now.
Please.
I'm going to teach you about this.
Moving on.
Ooh.
At least the audience got to hear some of what I deal with over here. Jesus.
That was a little behind the scenes. That was a taste
Good
of the
Lord.
pre-show, people.
You have one job. Sign on. Look at what we're talking about. Apparently too challenging.
Well, you know what? Maybe what Travis needed was a multi-month delay before he has to come on the show. If only we had something as an example
Look,
of that multi-month delay.
I know you guys got nothing going on. My time's super valuable. So when I
got
sit down,
nothing going
I just look. You guys are relics of the past. You got nothing going on. You got ample time. My time's valuable. I get here 2 minutes before.
What this is, Hogue,
let me
is
look
that
at the running
millennials
show.
don't know how to scroll up and read. That's the
No,
problem.
we know how to
See?
scroll up and read. We
That's
just
what's
don't.
happening.
We got shit going on. That's the thing. Y'all
They're
are,
too busy doom scrolling Sabrina Carpenter clips. I understand, Baines.
Is that what you think I'm
Exactly.
doing? I'm working, bro. I'm fucking hustling, homie. I'm hustling.
All right,
I don't have time
hold
for your
on.
shit.
Okay, again, broadcasting on my channel, Travis. Take it down one notch for me. Let's get it back to prime time broadcast television language.
On it. Grand Theft Auto 6. That's what we'll talk about. That's nice and calm as always, right?
It is calm. No news here because we were all betting on the Bitcast that this game was definitely coming out this year, right?
That's right. So if you didn't see, if you're one of the 4 people who haven't seen this by now, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed officially now, even though we kind of all knew this. It has a now target date of May 26th of next year. So about a year out, still a little more than a year out. I guess the next question, boys, do they hit this date?
No, it's not. It's not coming out on May 26th. I do think it's probably early June. Like I've always said in this space, I increment from announcements that are too far out in the future. So if they had said 2025 like they did, I said it's coming 2026. If they had said spring, I'd say summer. If they say a specific date in May, I assume it's about a week or two early because that's a long way from here to guess when your development's going to be done. So I would say it is likely coming out in that neighborhood, but probably not on that exact date.
Okay. I'm going to go with September of next year. I'm going to say a
right.
couple extra months.
Missed it by that much. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. We'll see, obviously. But we all know, right? They delay games multiple times. This is the first what we would call official delay with a date. So we shall see.
This was such a weird way to announce this delay, by the way. It was just like an image on their own social media site. It looked so unusual that I thought it was trolls from various people reporting on it when I looked at it that morning, until I found the Rockstar primary source material. So this was a weird thing to do. They obviously didn't release any additional clips or screenshots or anything anybody might be interested in. And it's odd to have this delay be that long and then pick an exact date. So it's
Agreed.
all unusual.
Very weird. All weird. And I think what it does show, though, right, is that Grand Theft Auto in general as an IP in the gaming industry is so big that anything they do, even just this ridiculous single black page, as you said, no clips, no info, no nothing, just, hey, it's getting delayed a long time with this specific date. It just spreads like wildfire, right? It's news literally everywhere immediately because it's Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, they could shadow drop it this minute and get 1 million more streamers right this second. I mean, like, it's that size game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be big when it releases. It doesn't release this year. I don't know if there's more to say about it right now, except that I think it should have been obvious that it wasn't releasing this year for some time. And the people that did get into my DMs and ask me whether we could have lawsuits against this, I do have to caution you on these things. People are always asking me about investor statements because Rockstar and Take-Two were pretty adamant about saying it's still on track for releasing this year. I will tell you here in this space the same thing I say in Virtual Legality and on social media in general, which is that it's not a lie if you believe it. And so if you didn't have an understanding that it definitely wasn't releasing this year when you said that to investors, you aren't lying. And there are disclaimers at every set of conversation points with investors that say, for forward-looking statements, for things that are in the future, we are human beings. We cannot see the future. So there are things that might get in the way. And one of those disclaimers that are in all video game sets of disclaimers are development is hard. Development has pitfalls. And we don't know if something might not happen between when we're saying this thing to you right now, it's releasing in 2025, and when we announce that it's releasing in 2026. So, no, it's very unlikely, unless there's an email that's just insane, between people within Rockstar and Take-Two that says, oh yeah, we know it's not coming out this year, let's lie to our investors, haha, and then a twirling mustache gif. Then without that, probably not a legal matter for you, but I understand your disappointment.
It's even crazy that people think that, but anyway.
A lot of people ask me about lawsuits about a whole lot of things, but this was one that happened as soon as it came in. That said, they told the investors it's this year. Can we get those damn executives? It's like, no, probably not.
Yeah. Travis, is it coming out on May 26th next year?
Yeah, it's still coming out this year. 2025. It's coming out November. But if I just still in deep denial, well,
it's just fake, guys. This is just throwing us off the scent.
I think they're doing a really clever thing where they're hedging their bets by saying it's next year on a specific date so that they can delight their fans by releasing it November 12th, 2025. Still coming out this year.
This is also going to land right on top of Marathon.
This is legal advice. Start buying the right stock now. I don't even know what the right stock is, but start buying that one now because it's coming out this year.
Take-Two stock dipped by 8% after this announcement,
which is definitely not reflective of an investment class that didn't think that it might not be delayed. That's part of the story as well. People say, "Well, can't we sue them because the stock dipped?" It's like, do you understand the size of Grand Theft Auto 6? Like an 8%, a 10%, a 20% dip means that it was already priced into a great deal.
Yep, exactly. Well, we'll see. Obviously, we won't be talking about GTA 6 for a while. We'll see. I
like
Travis's theory of you just clear the space so that nobody's expecting the shadow drop. You just
it's coming out, dude.
It's out now.
Just a sham. Look.
That would actually be kind of funny. I would.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Everybody's like clearing May from their calendars. All right, nobody released anything near May, and then you're just like, actually, I'm feeling like I'm going to put it.
Yeah, no, you just create an enemies list at Rockstar. It's like, who do we want to drop this on?
Yeah. I know who will drop it on. We'll wait till they do another
Horizon
Zero Dawn. Thank you. I was waiting.
Find Gorilla.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Boom.
They're gonna drop it right on Benzi's game. Isn't his this summer?
Yeah.
His is next month. Mind's Eye,
which still looks bad, but I hope it's great.
I agree with you. I watched that trailer. It did absolutely nothing for me.
Oh no, it looks like the offshoot discount brand of a Watch Dogs game.
I said Just Cause, but I'm with you. Yes.
Yeah. Mind's Eye, a narrative-driven single-player action-adventure thriller.
I hope it's great. I hope I'm completely wrong. It does not. It does not present well right now.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this game, which probably isn't a good sign.
Well, he went off and did his studio a few years back, right? And this is the game they've been working on. You can see some of the GTA DNA, but it just doesn't look interesting to me. I guess we'll see. So, what we did get this week, which we rarely get in this industry, is announcement from Take-Two and Gearbox that Borderlands 4 is releasing earlier than originally anticipated, 2 weeks up to September 12th. And we got a 20-minute state of play. I guess PlayStation has the marketing rights, right? In terms of Borderlands 4. So we got a 20-minute look from the team at Gearbox on all of the aspects of Borderlands 4. Now, if I recall correctly, I know Travis and I are big Borderlands fans. You're not a big Borderlands fan, Hogue, right?
I would not describe myself as a big Borderlands fan, but I have played it a good amount. This state of play is one of the few that I was bored enough by that I actually cut it off in the middle. So
wow,
that's my review here, just because I didn't think they were saying much of interest. It's clear to me that they do see Destiny as essentially a wounded animal in the forest, and they can take Borderlands and make it a little bit more Destiny-like. But overall, I thought this state of play was the most bored I have been at any of these.
But I mean, I think that's representative of you not really being a Borderlands fan.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things I'm not a fan of that you can still entertain me for a 20-minute state of play.
Fair.
This one just didn't work.
I think, I can kind of see that because it definitely felt like it was aimed at the people who were invested in Borderlands and know where they went wrong with Borderlands 3. It felt like they were kind of showing, hey, we heard you. Here's what Borderlands 4 is. So as an example, right? One of the things that Randy Pitchford, does he get weirder every time he's on screen?
Yes. So this is another comment. Yes, he does. But also, This is one of my personal things that I have an issue with, which is the CEO that believes they are the star of the show and will put themselves in the commercial for whatever their product is, or put themselves before you get to see the movie at their movie theater. Like this kind of approach I always dislike. And him
like
being
Kojima.
The voice,
I get it.
Sometimes I think Hideo puts his name on a lot of stuff and he does stuff with social media. I don't know that he is the sole voice. Like he isn't the narrator of his trailer for his games. And so this is a step beyond that. Like when you get that and he's the first face you see as the part of the state of play and then his voice is the one doing the narration for the gameplay elements. I do think that takes you out of it for a beat.
Agree.
And so that was another aspect of it that I was not a big fan of.
Yeah, so that aside, right? One of the things he was clear to say is that this one is more grounded. If you know Borderlands 3, right, the writing and the villains and everything were really kind of despised by the community, especially after Handsome Jack, right? Which is why they kind of tried to go back to Handsome Jack in the expansions. But anyway, I think what for the people I talk to that are really Borderlands fans, I've watched this. I actually watched it twice now. Jokes aside, Hogue, I've watched this twice.
No good.
But the reason being is that, big Borderlands fan, have been since the beginning, and I love these games. It's big in my family, too. My sons really love Borderlands, and it was a family game at one point in time, so there's some nostalgia there. But I think what I really like about this one is what I really wanted to see was big, large, open, almost open world regions where you can just go and shoot and loot, right? Without really any loading screens or kind of jumping to every section individually. They've done that. They said it's more grounded, but it has the more modernized gameplay. So the gameplay in 3 was really good. It was kind of the everything around it that was kind of weird. So it looks almost like a perfect combination of what Borderlands fans want between 2 and 3 mixed together, which is kind of what we want. And then the loot system's really cool too. So the way they described it is they've always had these manufacturers' guns, and you have the rarity and all that, right? But in this one, as the guns get more rare, they can actually have parts on them from multiple manufacturers. And so when you start to think about the Borderlands formula of the gazillion guns, right, and all this stuff, but when you start to think about, well, it could have this thing which gives it a reload, and this thing which gives it a crit hit, and this thing which gives it better accuracy, and finding those as part of your loot process, for someone like me who adores loot games, is very, very exciting. So I'm pumped for it, and I think that the guys I know who play a lot of Borderlands, who I've talked to and watched this, were really excited as well. I've seen a lot of positivity, which is cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Travis, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, I probably am going to be reviewing this game, especially now that it's not releasing on the same day as Marathon. Which is great. But, I'm one of those guys who loved Borderlands and then watched them fall way, way behind in the genre that they basically invented. So looter shooters have sort of moved on without Borderlands, especially Borderlands 3. You can kind of see how far that went behind, but then every once in a while you get little signs of life. I like the Tiny Tina game more than I expected to.
Yeah, Wonderlands was great.
Yeah, Wonderlands was pretty good. So I'm interested in this game. I do feel like they've got a lot of catching up to do. Borderlands feels pretty behind the times behind the medieval times restaurant.
Oh no.
What?
No.
What? I'm just saying they feel a little behind, like they're in medieval times restaurant.
Nope.
Oh, I'm not. I'm clearly not getting something here.
Wait, do you not know this?
No, we're not. Folks, if you're interested, look up Randy
offline.
Pitchford and medieval times.
Wait,
if you're not interested, let Travis go.
We're talking after the show, Ains. I want to be the person to tell you this story.
Maybe I just forget it, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
no.
But anyway,
I'm so excited.
But no, I think you're right, Travis. I think Borderlands 1 was kind of took this and created its own thing. Borderlands 2 really did a good job of expanding that and taking it forward. And since that point, they feel like they've kind of floundered a bit. 3 had some good gameplay element progressions, but otherwise it didn't really hit that same mark. So I hope they do that here. It looks like they have better story beats or what they're going for. Anyway, we'll have to see. They have more advanced movement opportunities. I think the design of the passives with the Vault Hunters looks cool. And by the way, if you go to Borderlands 4 site, they have more info out there on the story, the Vault Hunters, the villain, all that kind of stuff you could check out too. So, yeah, pump for it. So,
yeah. It looks better than I was expecting, so I'm hoping it's good. I'm worried about the writing. Somebody mentioned Anthony Birch, who I was a huge fan of, Borderlands 2 writer. And I feel like the writing has not really been the same without him. So
it has not.
We'll see where they go.
Well, they only have 3 between those, right? I mean, we haven't played 4 yet.
No, we haven't played 4, but
they have the pre-sequel.
The pre-sequel. There's actually more than 3 Borderlands games, and then also with the expansions and DLC, like there's just a lot more Borderlands than you think. Tales from the Borderlands, which completely different team of writers, but kind of, yeah, the vibe of Borderlands is very important. And to me, I'm one of those people who obviously I love looter shooters and loot and doing the boss fights and the end game content and all that. But I also really actually care about the story in Borderlands, because when they do it right, Borderlands can have a really good story. It's just they so often miss the mark there. So
Borderlands 2 was awesome.
Borderlands 2 story is legit great. It's a great story.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I don't want to look it up in real time here, but they announced the writers of Borderlands 4, and I know it's notable talent, and I can't remember who it is because I don't follow this, but you can look it up and correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear that's out there. But anyway, yeah, to your point too, the big thing obviously for launch is I've really hoped that they have the end game in order. That's important, and I hope that they have it ready to go. Where the hell?
They also need to figure out how to do live service delivery better than they've done it in the past, because I feel like they've been kind of behind the curve on that.
They have. They were they still had kind of the just paid expansion approach, and I think they definitely need to get to a place where they're doing fun things on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, adding new things, you know what I mean? Cosmetics, and I don't know if they're going to have a battle pass in this or some sort of progression that allows you to unlock things. We'll see. So, all right. So that's Borderlands 4. So we'll have a lot more on that, of course, relatively soon. I mean, that comes out in 4 months now, which is crazy. It comes out before Marathon, to your point, Travis. So pretty cool. Let's talk about Xbox, boys. Xbox raising some prices this week. So this became big news. I think, and Hogue, you rightly said, we were talking briefly before the show, but you called this out when the PS5 Pro was announced, that a $700 console was already kind of taking us down a road. Obviously, Nintendo came out with the Switch 2. We saw that Mario Kart World is an $80 game, kind of first of its kind, at least in this modern sense. And now Xbox comes out this week and raises prices on actually everything. So if you haven't seen this, I'll actually pull up just the chart. But consoles, accessories, and potentially some games all increasing across the board. So, I'll let you guys kind of rant about this while I pull the sheet up for the audience.
Must we rant?
Well, no, not rant, but you know what I mean. Give your commentary.
My commentary is that when any kind of seller goes out and makes a subscription service, a buffet kind of service, then it makes a lot of sense for the value proposition of that subscription service to have the components of that service, the a la carte purchase version of that service, be more expensive because it makes your subscription service look better. So the game's pricing is not a surprise to me. I'm actually a little bit surprised it took them this long to do it there. The hardware stuff is a bunch of different things happening, one of which is the PlayStation 5 Pro and the Switch 2 kind of increasing the room to price your hardware differently. The other item, which I know we've talked about a little bit in this space, is, of course, tariffs, economy, government policies in general, and not that they will necessarily impact every aspect of the components that go into actually selling the hardware. They will in part, but also that they present a wonderful scapegoat for anybody that's seeking to avoid negative press over things like raising prices on your favorite plastic box that goes under your TV. So the combination of things here is that Microsoft in their boardroom at Xbox saw that it was a window to do this, saw that they could at least put part of the blame on Nintendo, part of the blame on tariffs and Trump and anything else that you want to blame it on, and also potentially get more money. You combine that with the fact that they don't actually care about selling boxes as much as they used to, and so their market clearing price naturally goes up from there. So I think overall, from a corporate business perspective, this makes a lot of sense. I understand how these conversations might have gone. I do think that gaming in general is likely pricing out a higher percentage of the potential marketplace than it used to, and I don't see leisure pursuits like video gaming winning over difficulties in paying for things like food, shelter, and transportation in the short to medium term. So I think this is dangerous for gaming. I do think that the people at the heads of these studios could be heading to a bad place for games overall. I don't think we're looking at a 1980s crash or anything like that, but I do think we're going to see a pretty big correction/contraction. And so this can make sense from a corporate lawyer's point of view. From a consumer's point of view, I think it sucks.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I'll pull up on the screen right now for our viewers, and obviously this is just U.S. prices, so they're going up kind of everywhere. You can find that on their site, right? They have different country and region breakdowns, but this is what we're going to, and I think there's a couple things to call out here, right? First is that the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte model is $730 in the U.S., which is more than a PS5 Pro. And reminder, the PS5 Pro comes with a 2 terabyte hard drive. So you're paying more for hardware that is less from when you compare Xbox to PlayStation. It's also worth calling out here that the Elite controller, right, going up to $200 for the full one. The core is just the controller, but the $200 one comes with the extra thumbsticks and stuff. That was designed years ago now, and it's famous for durability concerns. And it feels ugly to especially think the Xbox Series S, which was supposed to be your entry bargain console into the Xbox ecosystem, the one that Ty Guy runs his server racks on, is now $380 for an entry level 512 megabyte hard drive version, which is
look, dude. You can criticize
lot,
me for lots of things, but I got in and bought my Series S's before these new prices, so who looks like a fool now?
That's right. I was going to say, you're appreciating your Series S collection like you're a real estate.
That's right, baby. Now I start reselling. Oh, you don't want to pay $379? Well, I got a private cache of Series S's that I'm going for $349. Right
it is the truth, though. You can watch the step up happen, and the increase outside the U.S. of the price of the original PlayStation 5 leads to the launch price of the Pro, leads to the window that the Switch has to sell at $450 and $500, leads to a Series S not needing that much space between its sales price and a Switch 2, and so it gets increased. So $370 is still $80 less than a Switch 2, and Microsoft doesn't need to just give you that money as if it were $200 less than a Switch 2. So here they go.
It's just crazy to think. No, like last year I bought a Series S with the Rocket League bundle. It's like a $20 bundle, like in Fortnite. It had that little bundle thing they did.
Yeah.
Bought that for $180 with that additional content. And to think that it's $380 now. And again, we are four.
It's not on sale though. It'll
I know, but
$2.99. Yeah.
But we are 5 years, almost 5 years, right? About to be 5 years into the lifespan of the Series X, and it's going up in price. Like, I don't think we've ever seen that in console history, right?
Well, the PlayStation 5 most recently, but yeah.
No, but I mean prior to this generation. Like,
they're gonna increase their prices again, I would guess, the PS5.
Well, the next announcement you'll get from Xbox, because the reason that game's price went up is not tariffs or anything else. It's because they're adding the concept of value to Game Pass, is that the Game Pass price will have a step up. It'll be smallish, would be my guess, and that they will not have any problem having another smallish step up at a very short period of time after that. Like, we've seen this play out. We know Microsoft pays attention to these things, so streaming services like Netflix, we've seen their step ups. I would expect a Game Pass step up very shortly after this list goes out.
Even after they went to $20 a month late last year, you think?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That was the first.
That is the move.
Step ups.
They do it like $1 at a time every.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just providing context.
No, I would be willing to bet that it'll be $25 very soon.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Gaming's getting a little crazy right now.
We're all making more money though, right? Like, it's just
that's just you, Travis. It's just you.
The cost. We're all making more money. The wages are rising faster than inflation. Yada yada.
It's all just
everyone's rich. You just
everyone's rich. No one has any problems, and I think that's clear if you've ever spoken to humans like I have.
Like I said, I think this is at a macro level across the industry risky. I think that people do have to pay for food and shelter before they pay for their Xbox. But I think
not me. I do Xbox first. I figure out if I'm going to eat later.
I think that when you are in those meetings and you're deciding what to charge, and you see things like this conversation about tariffs and the economy out there, then you say, well, we can maybe do this and not take the full brunt of the heat of this choice that we're making. Because folks that want to give Microsoft heat on this, they deserve it. They do. This is in large part motivated by, well, we can. Or if you want to be a little bit more negative about it, greed. But that's how businesses work. They are not in a charity operation. They are trying to get as much money out of you as they can for what they are selling you. And that's what's happening here. I do not love it. I wish it were not the case. But that's what happened with the PlayStation 5 Pro and the Switch 2. If you really want to cry, think about what the next generation might cost.
Hell yeah.
I was going to say, I'm glad you called out the kind of PS5 Pro and the Switch 2, Hogue, because I think one of the things that annoys me in these conversations is when someone who may be a fan of one ecosystem is like, getting mad at Microsoft, but then will defend the Switch 2. It's like, guys, all these companies are in the same boat, man. They're all making the same bottom line decisions. Like, none of them are your friends.
The job is to go and make sure the consumer surplus is almost zero, right? The value of the thing that you bought over the amount that you paid, these businesses want that to be zero, a pure exchange of money for goods. And so they're trying to get as close as possible to that when they price these things up. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying you have to be happy about it. But all of these businesses are businesses first and foremost. They are not your friends. Do not put your soul, your livelihood, your love, your emotionality into your plastic box, because they do not care about you, and they will charge you more if they can.
Wait, are you saying these companies aren't my friends?
It's true.
I think it's important.
Who have I been texting all this time? I've been texting PlayStation Corporation, and they're sending me like photos. We're supposed to meet for coffee later.
That's just a guy in China, Travis.
Wait, but they know me. We built a relationship.
I sent him a key to my house.
Are you sure they're not my friends?
They turned on you when you decided you didn't like Days Gone.
But I lost.
No, PlayStation decided they didn't like Days Gone.
They did. They hurt Ben badly.
Yeah, they did.
But look, that's one of the first videos I ever did in virtual reality. Is like, look. When they say these things about whatever social issue you're interested in, whenever they do anything else, they aren't sociopaths. They aren't individuals. They are bags of money that people have put into one location in order to make things and hopefully make that bag of money grow. But they do not care about you as a person. It's great that if they provide you a service or piece of hardware that you love it, that it's in your life and it's in your world. But as an institution, they don't care about you. And so Microsoft doesn't care about you. Phil Spencer, even though he's a person, we think, doesn't care about you. Sony doesn't care about you. Nintendo doesn't care about you.
I can confirm that Phil is a person.
Yes. You met him?
I've met him many times, yes.
So you're saying you have a personal relationship with him, so maybe friendship can exist.
He's my friend. These prices don't apply to me, by the way.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, yeah? You get like one of those gold passes you can hold up and be like, oh, no, friend of Phil. That'll be $150.
Yeah, and to be clear, right, like, as we have seen clearly, Phil is the CEO of gaming at Xbox. He's the head of all things Xbox. He's one of, I think, 16, right, of the inner circle at Microsoft. He still doesn't necessarily get the final say on these things.
I know, he falls below Satya, and Satya falls below the board.
Correct. Exactly right.
The board.
So,
the board.
Why when I hear the board, I always think about like a villain in a sci-fi movie.
Because of control and like the things that make the board into
a lot of them are kind of villainous.
Sure are.
I think people would be surprised at just how not serious a lot of board members are in major
That's also true.
Yeah.
That's also true. Yeah.
They're just people trying to make a buck. I can respect that.
Yeah, that's all they're trying to do. That's for sure.
Trying to make a buck. That's me. I'm trying to make a buck too. That's why I don't have time to read your damn run of show notes.
Apparently, you're busy with board meetings.
Trying to make money, dude. I'm out here hustling, homie.
I think people would actually be a little bit frightened about how non-serious board meetings are of millions and billions of dollars on the line.
He's not wrong. Yeah, he's very right.
I wrote a sitcom about it once. We talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Nathaniel Meyer, who gifted 5 memberships over at the Hogue Law side of the house. Thank you very much,
Nathaniel.
Good stuff. Love to see that. All right, boys. You wanted to quickly just mention this one, or we wanted to mention this, but Hogue, you're probably the easiest to mention the nuance of this one is Apple versus Epic. So there was some news this week. It got posted on our Discord. You quickly touched on it. You mentioned, I believe, not to throw you under the bus by any stretch of the imagination, but virtual legality was not in the cards. So we wanted to mention it here today so that you could at least touch on it.
Yeah, and I will reiterate my apology for that. There were a lot of news items this week that I thought would have made good virtual legalities, and I just have to be honest with myself when I'm not going to have the capacity to make those videos. But I do want to talk about Apple versus Epic right this second because Apple lost a pretty big decision in this case based on what they did with their pricing of off-store licensing, which is a really terrible way of describing what's happening here. But if you're familiar with Apple versus Epic, Epic wanted to have their Fortnite V-Buck separate currency sold directly to them so that they wouldn't have to pay a 30% commission to Apple. So they challenged Apple by putting this directly on their store. Apple said, you're in violation of our contract. They took Fortnite off. That's why you can't play Fortnite on your iPhone right now. Epic sued for antitrust violations, that Apple was illegally restraining trade. Apple said, hey, that's our marketplace. The iPhone is what we built. We're not restraining anybody's trade. For the most part, the court agreed with Apple there, which is what I said in virtual legality before the decision came down. But the court did grant Epic one win, and that was that Apple's rule prohibiting people from telling their customers that you could buy their stuff offline outside the App Store was a violation of California's unfair competition rules, which is a kind of broad umbrella set of rules that the court has a wide level of discretion to enforce. Apple said, okay, fine, we're going to abide by the court's order. But if you go off our store and you buy your currency from somewhere else, we are still going to charge our 30% commission on that sale because you only found out about it because you were first in our store. The court got really mad at this, even though they didn't bar Apple from doing that. This was actually what I said would happen when the court made its narrow decision in the first instance. But in getting mad at them, the one thing I said on social media is don't piss off a federal judge. The judge felt that Apple was playing games with this and said, no, you absolutely cannot do that, and said we might have to recommend this for a criminal disposition by the Department of Justice and all these other kinds of things. It was, you talk about unhinged in this space, it was the unhinged version of a commentary from a federal judge. But again, folks, don't take legal advice from this podcast, but if I can just give you practical advice, don't piss off a federal judge. And so Apple now finds itself behind the 8 ball in this particular circumstance. I think they are very likely to win their appeal here. So all of the devs you hear on social media or otherwise saying this is how we're going to go and make money now probably need to wait a beat, take a breath before we see how this plays out. But for right this second, Tim Sweeney, on the very narrow decision that he won in Apple versus Epic, because the court got mad at Apple for how they decided to abide by this court order and says in their opinion that Apple was not abiding by the court order, which I disagree with and I think literally is untrue, has a victory as it stands right this second. And they have plans now to bring back Fortnite and to potentially bring in the Epic Game Store and do other things. I don't think those are likely to come to fruition, so I think this is a little bit early to talk about the impact of this case as it stands right this second. But it's a big moment in time, and I know a lot of people are talking about it, so I wanted to put in my 2 cents on that score right now. You guys have any thoughts?
No, I appreciate the context. I saw this at a headline level. I didn't read anything about it, so it's kind of interesting. I would agree with you based on the way you've described it anyway, that suddenly going off and starting to develop along these lines is probably a mistake. You probably want to hold off on that for now anyway. By the way, but I appreciate the context.
A very similar kind of fight to what Microsoft was facing with Apple trying to get their Game Pass games on, and can you give a game through their service versus going through the Apple Store, and eventually resulted in, I believe, them doing like a browser-based version of Game Pass in order to get around their rules. So it's like interesting to see this like platform, who gets to sell what, who gets a cut of what fight happening. It's a very boring fight, but it is a fight.
Hoax face.
How is it not boring, dude? It's like a bunch of corporations fighting over who can make the most millions.
You sound like my wife when she told me nobody was going to watch Virtual Legality.
Oh, no, they'll watch it, but they'll watch anything. They're watching our show, dude. They don't care about quality.
They're just fighting over who gets the most billions. It is kind of, I get your point.
It's like when people watch that show, what's the show about the kids inheriting the all the money from people? What's that
No
show?
idea.
Succession?
I'm not a TV guy.
Yeah, Succession. It's like that. People find that show very interesting. I'm sure it is, but I'm just like, I just can't care about any of these characters. What am I going to care about?
Years old show as an example.
I don't even know what it is.
Succession? That's not. I mean, that's not that irrelevant. It was like, didn't it just have a recent season like not that long ago?
The last season of Succession was at least a couple of years ago.
I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate the context, Oak. So I think that's good. I think that if I'm correct, I don't see a lot of this nonsense nowadays, but I would assume there were a lot of opinions and thoughts around what this is going to mean from people who may not really have understood the details.
Well, and the reporting on it is very definitive because it was a very angrily written opinion against Apple. And having read a lot of opinions, you can see that the judge clearly thinks that Apple was playing games. And Apple probably was playing games in terms of like responsiveness to the court and what they say they're doing and what they say they're not doing. That kind of thing on the edges can get a judge very, very mad. And you see the resulting opinion have that kind of emotionality. But for what she actually decided in this case, I think it probably exceeds her authority under that specific California law. I think Apple is very likely to win the appeal because at the same time as the original case, she did not find an illegal restraint of trade. She did not find an antitrust violation. So this all seems to be outside of the breadth of what her original finding was. And you can't retry things at the appeal level like Epic was seemingly trying to do in this particular case. So my guess is that Apple wins on appeal. But as we like to say in the legal commentary community, appeals are for losers. Apple has already lost an important piece of its ground based on this opinion. And that is worth mentioning right now, even if I think it's mostly going to be rolled back.
Are there standardized, so, sadly being a little familiar with the court system, are there standardized appeal timelines in a case like this?
Not standardized, no. So this is a California case. It's going to go through the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit is the busiest circuit in the country. And that means you're looking at probably like a year or more would be my guess. And that means that Apple would be seeking as part of its appeal an injunction or a temporary restraining order to prevent it from having to allow for these various sales to happen on its store. But we don't know what step they're going to take specifically right now. Maybe we do. I haven't been following it on the internet. But it's going to look something like that. They're going to have some early motions on that. And then the appeal overall won't be definitively heard for a long, long time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, appreciate it. See what happens there. It is interesting in the gaming sense, to your point, around accessibility across platforms. So
yeah, it is. And this argument, the reason I picked it up in virtual legality in the first instance is because the arguments Epic was making against Apple, even though they didn't want to bring them against the platform holders about their rules in running their own stores, could apply to Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo as well.
Right.
And if you make this precedent,
and Epic also, their own game store.
Yes, their own game store, but they don't have the hardware to go with it, so it's not that kind of bifurcated argument. In this particular case, if Epic were to win on the totality of their argument that running a store with your own platform rules is an antitrust violation, then the entire console space has a big problem. Now, again, Epic only won the most narrow possible win that they could in the Apple versus Epic case in the first instance, so the console makers are not as concerned as they might otherwise be. Microsoft has actually testified on behalf of Epic in Apple versus Epic because Microsoft also has designs on breaking open certain doors in the Apple ecosystem.
Sure.
So it's a weird kind of politics makes strange bedfellows situation. Tim Sweeney, obviously out there being a very visible leader of his company and very angry at Apple at all times, is an interesting facet of this, because one of the things I have said in virtual legality is I think there are good points to be made against Apple as a platform holder and doing various things with its platform. Epic might be the worst party on earth to bring those complaints.
Yeah, all fair.
Yeah, it's like all unlikable people fighting. Where's my hero? I have no place I have no one to root for in this. It is Succession, right? It's like whose side am I supposed to be on in this bad people fight?
People will pull quotes from me and tell you that I am a big Epic fan or a big Apple fan or both.
You are. You're an Epic shill and an Apple shill, PlayStation and Xbox fanboy, an alt-right incel, and a libtard.
I do get radicalized grifter YouTuber from time to time, yes.
Yeah. You do all
That's
this.
Probably the easiest way to sum it up.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You should change the name of your channel to that.
Yeah. When I was really knee deep in everybody commenting on who I am, I almost put out a t-shirt on my store that had like all the ones. It was like radicalized grifter. Like there was one that was definitely YouTuber. There were like 4 that I had.
Make it a necktie and now we're in business.
Okay.
I've got a member comment real quick. This was relating to the Xbox pricing, of course.
As I have been telling people, buy used.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, but I think, what was I going to say? That a lot of people I've seen have been playing more indie games, at least on my timeline, right? Looking for those games like Hogue points out a lot, the $10, the $20 games on Steam, right? Let's not forget that Expedition was a $40 game or $50 game. $50 game. So Blueprints, right? Another one that's very highly regarded this year so far. There are all these really, really good games that are not $70 or $80 games. So
no, and I really believe in that silver lining, which is to say that the coolest, most interesting design things that are happening in gaming are at that lower level. And if AAA prices itself out, I do think there will be more eyeballs on more interesting things, and I like that for gaming.
Yeah. Split Fiction too. Good call out, Alex. Yep, another one. Couple things to mention happening this week. I was just going through release dates as I do every week now, and I just saw these 2. I don't know if you guys have any interest, but both of these games interested me, and I did not realize that they released this week, which is Revenge of the Savage Planet, right? The sequel to Return. Is it Return? The Savage Planet was the original?
I think it was Return.
Return of the Savage Planet. That sounds right.
I think that's right. Yeah, but I really like that game. It was goofy, it was fun, it was whimsical. So that comes out actually tomorrow as we're speaking.
All I remember about that game was that I hated the full motion video. Like, it's such a weird bit of comedy in that game.
I don't remember the full motion video.
It's like it's almost like if you took like goofy 80s advertising but put it into sci-fi. Like, if I remember correctly, Hogue, is that what I'm thinking?
It's like, they have commercials for like goop that you eat, and like it's just like discussing
like the
things
companies,
coming out of
corporations.
Yeah.
Just not. You can go back and find him, Hogue, or Travis. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was co-op focused, right? So I'm not.
I think you're right. Yes, I think it is co-op. I don't know if there's couch co-op or not, but it is co-op focused. And then little game called The Midnight Walk comes out later this week, which was one that showed up in one of PlayStation's directs, I think, late last year. Just looks interesting. And it's also, which we haven't mentioned probably for good reason in several months, it's also on PSVR 2. So it has PSVR 2 support as well as just normal kind of casual platforming. So those both released this week. So I'll probably be checking those out. And then I just wanted to mention shout out to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which we mentioned was probably one of our favorite games of the year. Definitely my favorite game of the year still. Has surpassed 3 million Henrys, as we like to say, and they like to say 3 million Henrys are now out there, but 3 million copies sold.
If you haven't already, walk to your local game store and say, show me your wares, and buy Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Buy a copy of Kingdom Come Deliverance.
It is fantastic. Yeah. It is a fantastic game.
Show me your wares.
I'm not interested in either of those games, I don't think, this week. I am interested in one that you showed me a trailer for earlier this year, Ains, and that is Deliver at All Costs.
Yeah, does that come out this week?
Not this week. It comes out later in May. It's one of my May releases on my timeline.
Altars is also May, right?
Altars is June.
June.
But yes, those are both pretty soon. I think the timers on my board are like the Altars is like 40 some odd days. Deliver at All Costs is 20. So
yeah, that game looks hilarious. Like, I'm really excited about that one.
I really like how it looks. I am excited about that one. That's later in the month. We'll see how it goes.
And you know what's next week? The big release for next week, which I know much of the people I talk to are playing it right now for review, is Doom. Doom is just a week and 2 days away.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, there are people playing that game right now, huh?
Yeah. So Dark Ages is the 15th officially, and they're doing the deluxe edition is 2 days. And I'm like, we're down to 2 days now to pay more for? Like,
they do all sorts of those. I've seen 3, 2, 5.
Yeah. You guys bored of it yet? You guys on my train yet? You think it's stupid yet? Huh? It's stupid.
It is generally stupid. The one thing I do like, just to credit them for the price discussion, is where Xbox, I like that they're doing the little upgrade path that you can do if you're a Game Pass member. So like South of Midnight was $10, which I think was $9 because they give you 10% off of the $10. But you got like the bonuses, you got the soundtrack, you got it to play it early. Like, I'm down with that. I'm okay with that personally. But yeah, you can do the same for Doom, I think.
Just don't call it early access, please. It's not.
Agreed.
You're arguing semantics.
No, I'm not. It's way more important than semantics. It's a lie.
But anyway,
it is a lie.
But yeah, Doom. So next time we're back, actually, we will be talking about Doom because before we start to close out here, I want to let the audience know and everyone listening, we will not have a show next week. Next Sunday here in America, anyway, is Mother's Day. And so some of us have mothers. Some of us have wives, that type of thing, that are mothers. And so we'll be doing motherly stuff next week.
To be clear, our wives are not our personal mothers. They are mothers of others.
Wow, we don't know that.
We had to clarify that, did we?
Depending on where you live, I guess.
So, yeah, the next time you see us will be a couple of weeks from now.
Depending on which state you live in, you might want to put a little disclaimer. I don't know.
I
would want that disclaimer in certain parts of the world, wouldn't you?
I don't even know how to jump off of that one. But anyway.
I just thought it was an important distinction.
Yeah. Hogue, I'm glad. Thank you. You say that it's a family-friendly show, trying to protect your YouTube channel, and then you
already threw an F-bomb into this video.
Did I? I don't even remember saying that. I'm sorry, I don't notice. When did I say that? I thought I said
in the middle.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Interesting.
Anyway, we will not be here next week. So we will be back on the 18th, presumably, to talk Doom and likely a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on between now and then. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. I do have one big thing I want to talk about. So I've been working with a small group of people So for those of you familiar with Xbox and Summer Game Fest and all that, Xbox does their showcase. Their showcase is scheduled for June 8th right now. That's Sunday. But if you're in LA, they usually have a big media event where it's in a theater and a whole bunch of journalists and content creators and whatnot go and watch it together. They're not doing that this year. This is the first year they're just doing it digital only, online. And so I've been working with some people in the Xbox community, and we are actually putting on our own watch party in LA. So I just want to quickly shout out, if you're one of those people watching that's usually in LA for Summer Game Fest, hangs out, does that sort of thing, we are starting today actually going to be taking submissions to get into what we're calling Community Fan Fest. And you can go to communityfanfest.com to check this out. There's a small bit of information on there, as well as the entry form to get in. Space is extremely limited because we are renting a space to this and putting on the whole show and doing everything. A couple hundred people, but you can imagine with staff and other things going on, seats are limited. So if you're going to be in LA at that time and you want to come, please check it out. Again, that's communityfanfest.com, and you can get all the details there. Other than that, on the SG side of the house, you can check out our review of Post Trauma, another horror game review that Ray checked out for us. And I might do a video on Marathon and Arc Raiders. I know we talked about it a lot today, but I think, to Hoag's point, I am one of the few people who has played both and has access to both. And I may kind of put up some thoughts around the two of them here this week, so you could stay tuned for that. All right. Hoag, passing it to you, my friend.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier in this video, I unfortunately still haven't been able to get as much solo content up on the channel as I would have liked. I am honestly very apologetic to everybody who helped support the channel. I am still figuring out exactly how much I get wiped out by streaming videos like this one here on the Bitcast and elsewhere. But by the time you see me here again on the Bitcast, hopefully I will have done a Virtual Legality or a Hangouts and Headlines or both. But also, I will be on at least one Summon Sign on Last Stand Media, as well as a Constellation episode. So you can get excited about hearing random things at Constellation, or even more random things on Summon Sign. So I appreciate your supporting me wherever I am. It is easier for me right now to do collaborations, to be on shows with other people, and that's why you see me more often in those spaces.
Awesome. Very good, very good. We got a super chat before you go, Travis, from our good friend Console Peasant, coming in late and hot.
Console Peasant, €5.99. Why do we listen to you? You seem good people.
I think it was a rhetorical question asked to itself.
Thanks.
No, I was genuinely curious.
I'm glad you. Yeah, no, I wanted to know
because I don't understand. But
look, I make exclusively content I would never watch myself, so that's a me problem. But yeah, I appreciate you guys.
I don't think any of us are sitting around watching our own content, right? Like,
no, I just mean in general. Like, if there were a show like this that I wasn't in, I'd be like, I don't want to watch that. That's crazy.
The only thing I've really watched a lot of myself is when I show up in February or March of 2023, because I like to compare my progress as to how I'm speaking.
Yeah. By the way,
I was real slow back then.
Still one of the most awesome Bitcast moments we ever had. I've actually gone back and watched that clip a few times, just because you weren't had host abilities at the time, Hoag. So when you came in, I was the only one that saw you before Travis and Dan, which was just it was fun. That was real fun.
I remember the moment where I came into the show on the plane.
That was a good one, yeah.
Ains's reaction to that always made me laugh. That was really good. I'm like losing
it's funny when you're the host, because you can see him pop in the little window down here, obviously. But yeah, it's a good time. So, Council Peasant, thank you as always.
$8 for Wi-Fi on the plane. It's a good time.
Appreciate you, Council Peasant. Thank you, Travis. What you got, man?
Yeah, what is my most recent review? Oblivion. Yeah, how could I forget? I put 1 million hours in that. You can watch my review of Oblivion. I've also got a bunch of guides for Oblivion. So if you're new to Oblivion or you haven't played it in a while, you should check out our guides on YouTube. I'm very excited about the guide I have going live Monday or Tuesday about Daedric Quest, because it's such a stupid video. And other than that, I've got a Palia a review coming up sometime
Did we decide
soon.
It's Palia and not Palia?
So the official, the creator of the game, the CEO of the company that made the game, is of the opinion that Palia Palia and Palia are all correct pronunciations, but
right.
in D&I specifically called it Palia for a long time, and then when we went to the GDC thing, we asked them what they internally call it, and they said that it's pretty unanimously Palia internally.
All right.
And that seems to be the pronunciation that has caught on with the community as well. And so I am in the process of transitioning from calling it Palia all the time to calling it Palia, since that is what lots of people seem to call it by. So
more power to you. No, I want to be where they're at. What do they call it?
Me too. Yeah. And I was given a very different answer last time I asked them. It was like, look, we want the community to be able to call it whatever they want, but it seems like a consensus has been built without the studio's kind of directive toward it. And so I'm transitioning to it. But yeah, I'm going to have that review up soon. And then I've got a preview this month that I'll talk about soon.
Cool.
That's me.
All right, chat. Awesome as always. Thank you, everyone, for checking us out. Tickle Google's buttons, of course. Tickle the podcast buttons. Just tickle a lot of buttons. You know, whatever things you feel like tickling, do it.
That's how you get to Mother's Day, folks.
With that, I hope everyone has a good couple of weeks of gaming. As just a reminder, again, we'll be out next week on May 11th for Mother's Day here in the U.S. We will be back on the 18th with Doom and a whole lot more things to talk about. So have a good couple of weeks, and we will see you then. Peace.
Yeah.